Astronauts to the moon.
Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jaron from Jeranism, back with another live video for you. Today it is Friday. That means it is Friday Lounge Day. So thank you guys for joining us. We do appreciate it. I'm not here alone. I have a few guys with me. You guys have got to know them quite well. First, we've got Bob, Xanadude60 from Glowbusters. Bob, how are you?
Hey, doing good, Jaron. Just enjoying the day. Glad to have another one of these chats today. It's great.
Sorry, I was trying to kill a fly. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, glad you guys could join me. And we also have Iru Landucci from Nuor para Todos, or what's your new channel called, Iru? Let us know. All know.
NPT Red Pill.
There you go.
Yeah, Nur para Todos, but with this kind of abbreviation, NPT Red Pill. Because I created on Sunday, and we was talking about some guy that has that name on it, and I like it, so I created that. Hello everyone in the chat. Thank you for the invitation, and hello everyone in the panel.
Really
Hello,
strange. Hello, Iru. And we also have Rodrigo Ferrari Nunes. Rodrigo, how are you?
Hello, Jaron. How are you doing? Thank you for having me. And hello, Bob and Iru. And also, thank you for becoming my Patreon person. My patron. Now, Iru, I'm in trouble now.
Oh no, man! No, you get in trouble. You get in trouble.
Did that go through?
I used to think the same. Like, oh, nice guy, Jeran. He can become a patron.
Give me a break. Oh,
but
boy.
okay, this is not the appropriate time to discuss this. Okay, sorry.
Well, I'm glad that you saw it, because I noticed an error on the system, and I couldn't figure it out, and it kept saying that there was an error that I couldn't contribute to you. So
Really?
Yeah, because my payment method selected is PayPal, and obviously I have no more PayPal account. Now, what they usually do on Patreon, which is nice, is that I've got a certain amount of dollars coming in, so I can donate to a few other people, and it just takes it off my total. Right, so it never actually charges my PayPal. But today, when I was trying to sign up for you, it kept saying there's an error with the payment method. I thought it eventually went through, and then I tried to change the amount for Iru, and it also was giving me an error. So I got to look into that and figure out what I got to do. I probably have to add a credit card or something, even though it'll probably never be charged.
It seems to be.
And
It looked normal and everything, though, is what you're saying.
It looks like welcome your new patron.
Okay, good. I guess it went through.
And I really want to say this because I made some jokes about the patronist of Sheran, but before Sheran became a patron, I only have like 3 patrons. And then a day comes and Sheran told me, hey man, I'm going to support you on Patreon. And he started to support me. And after that, right now I have like 40 patrons. So thank you, Sheran, for and this is on serious. I mean, you became one of the first, and after you, I start to receive a lot of support. And for me, it's really important because here the I know that I say all the time I say this, but this is the reality that is happening in my country, in the region itself. The economy is really bad, and right now it's the double of the last year. In terms of the U.S. dollar with respect with the peso argentino.
Yeah.
Anytime, for example, right now, I need to go to Dallas, and for me, taking like just a lunch or dinner.
Every dollar
like
is a lot of money.
Times
It's so expensive.
Yeah, man.
Right.
For me, it's a lot of money, man. And it's really helped me a lot. The support that all the community gives me. Via PayPal, or just looking my videos and understanding why I put like 4 or 5 advertisements in video for an hour. The only way that I have to take some dollars extra, because here in Argentina we don't even. For example, right now is government restriction that $500 per month. So it doesn't matter if you
You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I was
Hero.
gonna say, is it me or yours breaking up kind of bad?
He's breaking up a little bit.
He said he's
So
sending something
what's happening is that they're restricting the amount of dollars
sorry,
you can
guys,
bring
sorry.
in. That's what it is. They don't
Yes.
allow you to bring more than X amount of dollars. $200.
$200 per month.
What?
Is that?
The hell?
Yes. Yes,
What?
that is
Wow,
the
that's crazy.
situation. So the only way that I can have, to get some dollar to spend in other country is via PayPal, via Patreon. It's the only way that I have right now. So thank you so much for everyone, and to you, Jeran, for become one of the first starting Patreon.
Okay, and
Well,
Yeah.
if somebody gives me a link, and I don't see it in Jaren's show, but if somebody gives me a link, I will be happy to sign up to be one of your patrons.
Woo, you got
me
another one.
too, of
See,
course.
Oh.
It's just
The thing is, if it wasn't for the censorship that we were subjected to, these channels would be doing very well, and people wouldn't be having to, they would be just part of how it's supposed to work, which is what you see is these channels of people just spewing out propaganda and trash, and they're huge, and obviously they're getting a good amount of money for their work, and we're just kind of, putting out a lot of material and having, a few cents from the whatever advertisement that Google does, hiding us in a corner, So the patrons make a big difference, and it's more personal connection as well. I think it makes sense to support the people that are doing things that you want, that you support. It makes perfect sense in this. Gratitude and generosity, I've been talking about it. There's a resonance of this when you work with this in mind, and things just start working. People start working together and moving forward. That's what we have to do, and that's what we're doing. I think that's why we're winning.
Yeah, I agree. And Patreon is good. Like I said, it lets you separate. You can donate $100 a month or whatever, and you can put it in a bunch of different people's baskets, and it only pulls from your PayPal one time, so you don't get charged all the fees, or at least the person that you're donating to. If you donate $5 to a bunch of people, well, they're actually only going to get $4 after PayPal takes its cut. But by doing it through Patreon, they only remove it from your account one time, and they only pay the fee one time, and then they divvy it up among the content creators. So I think it's great if we can help out, as Owen Benjamin says, or Dave says, support what you like or it goes away. So of course people know my Patreon is patreon.com/jeranism. And I always say thank you to all my patrons because they make all this available, and they've been awesome to me, really helped change my life, really, if you think of it that way. And patreon.com/anthropology is Rodrigo's Patreon, so please go to there and help him out if you can. And for Iru, it's patreon.com/nur para todos, and I will include that in the description after the show. So right now there are a few links. The links that are there are, of course, to subscribe to Rodrigo's channel, and then I've got 2 links for Iru, one for his Nur para todos, the other one for his new channel, which is NPT Red Pill, and he's only got 100 and something subscribers right now. I can't read that from where I'm looking. What do we have?
Yeah, but I didn't
But no
upload
videos
in
yet
any
either.
video.
Right.
Exactly. Right now, I am waiting to finish the conference because it's take me a lot of time.
Right.
And after that, I'm going to start to uploading videos. So
Okay, cool.
please wait me.
Well, if you ever want to do a live stream, hey, I would love to join you. So
Oh no, that will be nice, and
Yes.
that will be like an honor, man.
awesome. Well, that's a good way to get you some subscribers too, is if we announce it and have a show over there, and you'll get some subscribers right away. So that's what I would recommend. So people can go there and check out his new channel. But if you go down in the description right now, you can find the link to that and head over there and subscribe to Iru's new channel. And and of course to Rodrigo, his is on there. And then I've got Globebusters, 2 links, of course, to the original Globebusters channel, which is most people are subscribed to. But check your subscriptions; you never know when they'll disappear. And also, I have a link to the Globebusters 2 channel where we're currently running some 24/7 video. Correct, Bob?
Yep, absolutely. We are running the 24/7 video 24/7.
Sweet. And
Is it? Have you guys ever tried to do multiple lives at the same time? So like in 4 channels at the same time. Is that even possible? Should be, right?
yeah, it
Shouldn't be
is
much
because
of a-
you can screen capture somebody else's live stream. So let's say David Weiss goes live from his drone, then I could run OBS and just call that a window, and then basically I'd be streaming live what he's streaming live, and then somebody could do same thing for me. And it could be 100 channels all running the same thing. So that is.
But
possible.
I mean, like, say you, Ido, and I and Bob are talking, and then we have the 4 channels running a live stream at the same time while we're talking, instead of one reflecting, mirroring another live stream. Because I've seen that before, where you're talking about a bunch of people doing that.
Yeah,
Karen B.
you mean
Zulu
like you're
One was
saying
doing
if you were to live stream this conversation as well, is what you're saying?
For instance, yeah, and everybody would do the same.
Yeah, because you could just do a screen capture through OBS of whatever my live stream is. So
Yeah,
as far as
or just
everybody-
a Skype conversation, I guess.
yeah.
Or your screen capture, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's possible. The one thing that I don't do anymore, and I did this a lot, and I guess you can call it me trying to take care of my channel or make sure it doesn't go anywhere. But when I lost monetization, and then when I lost monetization on the Jeranism live channel, it always said reused content. And when reading the YouTube rules and regulations and things, basically it says you have to add something to a video. What they don't want is me just basically what people call mirroring. Right?
Right.
You've heard that before, where people say, hey, mirror this. I just made this video, mirror this video. And I really have no issues with people mirroring my videos, but what I really don't do anymore is mirror anyone else's. Just because, like I said, my channel could lose monetization, could get strikes or whatever, because what basically you're doing is reusing content. What's better to do is to play pieces of a video, or to, use a portion of a video and then make comments on it, right?
Yeah, what's weird about that, Jaren, is I don't know why YouTube would care if you don't monetize them. Now, I mirror a lot of people's videos, but I don't monetize them,
Right.
know? So it's like, I don't know why they would care about that. And frankly, everything on Globebusters 2, which is a monetized channel, is also not monetized. And even if I did monetize, there's so many videos that have, this copyrighted content in them.
Right.
It would be claimed by somebody else anyway. So it's like, well, whatever,
Right.
But yeah, I think that's crazy. But I haven't lost monetization yet.
Right.
But yeah, it's just weird because, like I said, if you don't monetize them, why would they care?
Well, I mean, the answer is, and you can talk to Robbie Davidson about this because I talked to him. He's done some research into what exactly their policy states and everything. And it's the people that they have as part of their partner program, right? So if you're a YouTube channel creator or video creator and you've got your own channel and you're part of the partner program, which you need to be in order to be monetized, they want, very specific actions from you. And one of those is to be creative in and of yourself, to present something new each time to the platform. And that's basically the rule for them. So I see what you're saying as far as I don't think they care much, but if your channel ever got under scrutiny and they looked deep into your channel and saw that some of the stuff, even if you're not monetizing it, is basically reused content, then I could see them removing your monetization. And what happened with, Jeranism Raw, I had some videos on there that were basically just mirrored, and I lost my monetization there. And of course, everybody says, oh, you'll never get it back. And I thought that was the case. But I went through and really cleaned up the channel and made sure that the only thing on there was my own radio show, and got rid of any videos I had mirrored or anything. And then lo and behold, the monetization status came back. So that's really what made me think, okay, maybe they are real serious about that. And I guess from a YouTube
What about the
standpoint-
copyright that you select for the video that you're putting? Because you can put different kinds of copyright type, and if it is a one that you allow anyone to use in any way they want, then the source video,
I leave it.
then I don't think there's any basis for.
Bob, do you change it, or do you leave what the preset copyright rules are when you load a live stream? I just leave it.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
leave it exactly the same.
Right, that's what I do too. So, yeah, I'm not really sure. I just have, ever since I saw channels getting deleted or people losing monetization, I've just taken some steps to try not to do that. So for instance, if there's a great video by J. Tolan Media, rather than mirror it on my channel, even if I don't monetize it, what seems like a smarter choice to me is to do some sort of live stream where I talk about it. Right?
Yeah,
because then
sense.
it's my own content. I'm adding something to the platform. I think that the
It's
last
transitional in nature.
Correct, exactly. So
Yeah,
you're covering
I
all
think
those bases.
that what Bob's talking about as well is that there are people in the community whose work has been to share other people's work, because otherwise their work doesn't get shared. And then there's different strategies for doing this, like to take care of the channel, which is important. Then you avoid certain risks.
Right.
And people, when they allow you to just simply mirror their videos, fine.
Yeah, like one of those people, and I haven't even asked him yet, but I mean,
Right.
one of those people.
But it's
I
good
think,
to have a policy. Have a policy, right, about it, and it's good. Keeps
Yeah,
it easy.
I just try and do it, whatever makes sense to me and what I think will protect it. And one of those videos is like Taboo Conspiracies, Our Flat Earth Journey, right? So he put that video up, I don't know how many weeks ago it was at this point, but it still only has, I think last time I checked, ranked like 15,000 views. And a video like that, I think, deserves so much more. So where in the past, what I would have done is just re-upload that and mirror it to my channel. But now at this point, what I want to do is I'd rather have either him on to talk about it or play it in the background while I make comments on it, or just so that it's, like Bob said, transitional in nature. And I think that's how you can stay above water when it comes to monetization on YouTube, is that you're not just reusing content. So
Yeah.
that's at least what I do right now, and it's taken a toll. So is, I used to do a ton of videos, and Iru was talking about it before, where I would put all these clips in there, and I would spend days on videos, and I would always get nailed for some little Neil deGrasse Tyson clip, some little Lawrence Krauss clip, and it was just so frustrating because people don't know how long it takes to build a video, get it correct, then to render it, then to upload it, just to find out that Brian Cox is going to take all the monetization for what you just spent 4 days on. So I've kind of gotten away from doing some of that stuff, or if I do, I'll put it in a smaller video, a little smaller
Yeah,
screen.
one thing that the Brazilians found out that you can get away with is like, I don't know if you do something to the sound, but they invert the screen and make it black and white, whatever they're showing, and then that kind of messes up their algorithm. It's like you mirror, the screen, horizontally, and apparently that takes care of a bunch of stuff. So also if you frame it with a phone, for some reason, that's what I heard. If you frame it with the kind of frame that looks like a smartphone,
right,
that also takes care of it somehow. Yeah, and of course, they found out that if you're filming yourself with a screen behind you showing something, that's also, I think, it's okay. But
that's another thing that they said. If you have your own face on it, because then when somebody's looking at it, if you're talking about whatever you're showing. So, for instance, I'll just show this real quick. I probably should turn this off real quick. Let me show you. So, for instance, I have this little. Now I lost it. There we go. I have this little screen, set up so that I can put a video here. Mm-hmm. So let's say that we were going to watch, this future of colonizing space. So, for instance, I can have it small here, and really, if you talk about it there, and if I were to include basically a video of myself up in this upper left-hand corner. Then if anybody checks the channel or checks the video, then it certainly is transitional because I'm commenting and critiquing, right? So what I'm talking about is up in this upper left-hand corner. If I were to have a picture of myself, which that's the hard part, is I've never enjoyed being on camera. From the very beginning, it's something I just didn't, because then you read the comments and people are like, "You're ugly. Yeah, why do you have a lazy eye?" So you're like, just pay attention to the content. Don't pay attention to lazy eyes. But no, so it's
you are occupying important part of the screen with your face. For me, it's the same thing. Occupying. Thank you. Yes. And thank you, Bob and Sharon, for the Patreon. Thank you so much. I really already received the email. But it's like you say, Sharon. For me, putting your face on the camera, it just screw up the rest of the information that maybe you can put in order to replace your face, you know.
Yeah.
Love it.
Iru, when you do live streams, though, are you usually on camera?
No.
No.
I have like two setups of the OBS. At the beginning, when I do live hangout, I used to use my webcam because maybe when you are critiquing or when you are just do some commentary on videos, sometimes your expressions it's really good value for the audience, because maybe you can a lot of time you just move the mouse once from one side to the other of the screen trying to replace your arms or your expressions. So sometimes when you are just critiquing or I don't know how to pronounce, or comment on a video, maybe if the audience can look your face and your original expression is a little better.
Yeah,
but
communicates better. Like people prefer. Apparently, you see all these videos of people. Sometimes they have freaking scenery all set up in the back with that's what the space people do. Like you always see Neil deGrasse Tyson has 10 globes behind him and like everything's over
Yes. Bunch of globes.
But something that I did is just set up my screen, my complete screen a little bit small,
smaller, yeah.
But I don't want to put my face on top of the information. So I just leave the live chat on the side and my little face under the chat window, but the screen is complete. I am not overlapping any image on that.
Right. Yeah. So one thing that I do want to point out to people is I know that there's not a lot on the screen for you to watch when we're having these Friday lounges, and I will get around to, I just haven't yet because we've got the conference coming up, obviously, but I will get around to having some images for people to see when Iru's not sharing, when Rodrigo's not sharing, or when we've got nothing going on. I'll make sure that you have something to watch. So that'll be coming.
I have things for sharing.
We should
but I am waiting to the WeTransfer end because if not, I'm going to start.
Well, there's some things
shopping.
You can already look at, especially this Guardian thing already. If you want to get on with it. I mean, there's a bunch of information. Of course, we can talk a little bit about the Wakey move, it was just amazing what's going on there.
Amazing.
When I get to really look into, I mean, we have to all fine comb that because he catches her in such a way, and the contradictions in the way it is for me, it is like the beginning of the end. I think it is the ultimate blow, the kind of the what they call the mercy blow. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like bam.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Hey, before we get to that though, I do want to make a comment about content that is being detected online. And one thing I've noticed that's really interesting, especially on the 24/7 feed, is YouTube's algorithms for detecting copyrighted content are getting better for sure. So what I've noticed is that on some of the videos in the 24/7 feed, when it goes to something that is definitely copyrighted, not by like another YouTuber or anything like that, but somebody that's mainstream, like that would actually pay for that service. What happens is, at least on the Globebusters 2 24/7 feed, is it will interrupt the stream and it will say this stream has been interrupted due to policy violations, and it will stay that way until the copyrighted content stops playing, and then it will actually resume the stream. So it doesn't cut it and kill it permanently, but it will interrupt it. And I thought it's like, at least that's better than me having to restart the damn stream every time, but it does happen. So
yeah, I saw that when I was streaming about the Brazilian interview, the guys on the big network TV, because it seems it's all automatic. And in the middle of the stream, as I'm showing the video, it starts popping up this warning saying, "Hey, you're detecting copyrighted content. We may stop your stream." So immediately I started playing some music of my own in the background to try to mask it, and then play choppy bits of the video, be very choppy about it to try to, but in reality that shouldn't be happening because it is content that I'm commenting on. It doesn't matter if I show the whole thing.
Oh, it happens all the time. I mean, every time I show, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I showed the commercial from the baseball game, or I showed the intro from the baseball game. Anytime I do something like that, yeah, it immediately gets nailed, no matter how I try and chop it up. Even if I comment on it completely, or if I, let 3 or 4 seconds play, then I pause it. We did get a couple super chats. Funny bundle. Thank you very much for the £2. Daniel Pratt, ROW, said, "Sup, Jaron, I got a free super chat, and Jesus asked me to give it to you. Keep killing that globe." All right, well, thank you, Jesus, I guess. Eagle Plane and Anchor sent $2. Thank you very much. Earth is Seriously Flat says, "Destroying the demonic globe zombie animal mind." Thank you very much for that. We got Colin Dresser, says one, "Checkmate." And we've got Earth is Seriously Flat again, says, "I love my Flat Earth Army family, stay strong." So the other quick announcement, just so people don't look for it, is next Friday there will be no Friday Lounge, so that will be postponed for another week because we will be at the conference. So,
nor will there be a Globebusters, likely, even though I may stream a little bit, from the conference.
Well, when do you leave?
Well, we don't actually leave until I think Tuesday.
Oh wow, okay,
so,
you're staying there a lot longer.
Yeah, so we're going to stay there a while because I want to visit with the guy that does the Flat Earth, Chris Pontius.
Oh, okay.
And also we're going to be shooting some additional footage for Rick's film, which, by the way, is coming along just excellent. It's really, really funny. So yeah, that's going to be going on.
Is that one that he's playing the several different characters and doing a bunch of it's kind of a comedy?
Yeah, it's a comedy one, and it's where he's playing Roland Reddy. And Roland Reddy's on this journey of kind of trying to question Flat Earth and learn about it. And he's presenting Flat Earth in a semi-serious, semi-comedic way. But it is really, really well done, what he has done so far. So I'm really looking forward to it.
He's been working on it for how long?
Well over a year. Well over a year.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's one thing, and I don't know if this is really, not to say my place, but one of the things that I didn't understand, and I hope people do, just because I don't want people to be surprised, is according to the schedule for the Flat Earth Conference, from 7 to 8 p.m. on Thursday is a Flat Earth game show. It's not actually a Flat Earth game show, correct, Bob? I mean, it's filming.
No, not really. It's
right.
It's more a prop for
correct
the movie,
right.
Believe it or not. But I've got the intro, and Rick has sent me a bunch of stuff on it. It's actually going to be really cool.
Yeah.
So I think people will really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so. I hope people recognize it. Because if I was somebody going to the conference, I'd look at that and say, oh, cool, they're going to have a Flat Earth game show. And then to arrive there and find out it's really the filming of a scene of the movie more than it is a Flat Earth game show. Right? Because I have a part, and I have a part in this Flat Earth game show, and I've got a script. So it's not really a game show if I'm reading from a script, basically. So I just didn't know if people understood that.
It's purely for entertainment, guys. It's not like anybody's going to be winning any money or anything like that.
There's no prizes. There's no it's going to be more of a movie. So I just hope people recognize that. But yeah, before we get into the Brazilian thing, let's talk about Globebusters. So there won't be a Globebusters. We don't know for sure as far as the week of the conference, but there will be one in 2 days on Sunday. And Bob, what's the plan for Globebusters?
Okay. I'm sorry. Cammie just pointed something out to me. I thought we were staying until Wednesday, but we're actually just going in really early. So as far as the plan, I'm sorry, Jaron, I missed that. Can you ask the question again?
Oh no, just kind of talking about what's going on with Globebusters and what the plan is for this coming Sunday. And I know there's some stuff you wanted to talk about that.
Yes. Yeah, there is. Sunday, obviously in 2 days, we are going to be having Mark Knight, his YouTube channel is called Wakey Wakey. Many people are familiar with Mark. He's been in the community for, I'd say, at least 5 years. I think he's been around every bit as long as we have, if not longer.
Right.
And he's going to be coming on talking about his recent video that he just did, and I just mirrored. It's called Freeberg Undercover One, the Famous Astrophysicist. And so we're going to be talking about that. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about today some of the comments that I have gotten from people regarding that, including a very good friend of mine who is, somewhat of a, I don't know if he's exactly a colleague, but he is familiar with her research, and they, I don't know. I don't really want to go into how far that's gone, but he did not think that that video was necessarily fair to her, and he raised some decent points about it, and so that's something I thought maybe we could talk about a little bit today on that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the questioning of it, because one of the things that I've thought about doing, and by the way, thank you very much, Where's Eden, for the super chat. One of the things that I've thought about before, because I live so close to at least Ames Research Center and some of the other NASA stuff here in the Bay Area, that I would love to go and interview some of these people, be it astronauts, be it scientists, be it engineers, whatever. But I understand now that this is 4 years or 5 years removed from me starting my channel, that if I went there and said, "Oh, my name is Jaron Campanella and I want to do an interview," that they would just look me up and basically laugh in my face and say, "No, we're not going to have you interview any of these people or even come on the premises." And so I've thought before, well, man, should I, use a fake alias, or should I, change my name or try and pretend that I'm somebody I'm not? And ultimately, I've just decided not to do that, because I don't know if it's technically the right way to do it or the right way to go about it. But sometimes, there's people braver than me out there, like Wakey Wakey, that, did it. And so it's hard for me to say, oh, this is great, we should all go and do this. But at the same time, it's hard for me to say, oh, he shouldn't have done that, because I think so much information came out in that video, and it's very important.
Yeah, as an anthropologist, for instance, if I'm doing research, I cannot do anything like this. I have to tell the person exactly what I'm doing, that and how I'm going to use it, and so on and so forth, in the first hand. So that's just basic kind of research ethics. But that's usually to keep the university safe from litigation problems. And in my case, it never happened that I did anything wrong with the research because I told people firsthand. You can have the recording, you can do whatever you want with it. If you don't like the way I talk about it, you can talk about it. I give myself the right to present a critical point if I want about this, but that's my position without misrepresenting whoever I'm maybe talking about from the time they gave to me. So it's kind of just my gratitude for the time they gave to me, but it's also part of this, what research in anthropology is like. So as anthropologists could not possibly do anything like this. But the thing is, what's going on is that people in this community have been attacked over and over and over again with lies and repetition, and with a massive apparatus, huge apparatus that you cannot really get into. And they are afraid of talking to people because they know they're going to lose any conversation. So they're prompted to never talk to anybody who associates with the flat earth, because they need to try to ignore it and then attack it in ways of course, they're losing that because people are checking what's actually going on and finding out that, the cleverer people, right? But so from Mark's perspective, you can understand that this, could be seen as a kind of information, war in a way.
Right.
And they have, how many propagandists they have, Neil deGrasse Tyson's still out there. He even wanted to kind of talk about it. He comes out to talk against flat earth and saying that it's all a YouTube kind of phenomenon. All the BS that we heard a long time ago that has been repeated. Somebody decided, okay, this is a script from Neil deGrasse Tyson, repeat this kind of stuff and we'll give you all this money. He's being ousted for being a date rapist, right? He's been at least accused, and he's kind of disgraced now. What is he doing? So they're throwing these guys out there all the time, and we have to play the really nice game that keeps academics in check, so they cannot do anything controversial, keeps them sheepish and dependent on their funders or whatever it is. Somebody has to have the courage to break some rules. And in this case, he tricked her, and I mean, I couldn't do it as an anthropologist, but look at the information that's come out and how he's done it. She could have noticed beforehand if she, and I don't know, he just caught her in so many points that thing needs to be analyzed regardless of whether or not it was ethical in an academic setting. But that's kind of edgy position to have, because I think it's justified by so much of the attacking and the lies and that we've seen over and over and over, and we've still seen. So
yeah, because
Right.
otherwise we just have to hear these people and they always have their particular stance and they're never challenged, right?
absolutely, how are you going to challenge them? Our favorite, the bald guy got challenged with the bubbles in space, and he didn't know what to say. Scott Kelly, right? But that's really, really, really rare. And we saw that once Clinton was challenged, and the guy got tasered out of the room,
Right.
brutalized. So, Mark Knight's approach, he thought it over. He did the kind of turtle game. He thought it over beforehand. I think he told me about this. He said that maybe that it was a good idea. I think it's maybe in our conversation he even says that. I have to go back and I have to ask him. But he basically has a website where he played this game of authority so well. That's why the geniuses move. Ido, go ahead.
I don't think Gira said
No,
anything.
I think it was Bob who's going to say something.
Yeah, I was.
No, he just used their love for authority against them and played himself as a humble high school student, asking these kind of dumb questions, playing himself down very well, to give her the sense that she's above him, that she loves the kind of playing their game, and then having a website corroborating some of his information, saying he's from some sort of Oxford, so putting the Oxford name there, having a British accent, all these things create a kind of impression, which is the same kind of game that they're playing in a way. It's a theater, and he comes with this impression. And he manages it, and he basically, presents all these hard questions one after another, and the thing has this crescendo. It's fantastic the way it works, and the way it ends, and how she freaks out and contradicts herself. How many points did we get from that thing? If you take your head out of the situation, yeah, it's a trick, but they've been lying and attacking and getting away with it for so long,
Right. Well, here's the thing, Rodrigo, and
Yeah.
my friend that objected to it, and this is the same guy that is very high up in academia and has been invaluable to me, but his objection was not the fact that she was tricked into doing the interview, but his objection was the mockery that was used,
Right.
and I would be remiss if I didn't say that there were several comments on the Globebusters, mirror of it. That objected to that, said, we don't need to come down to that level, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And my response to that was, I don't think I necessarily would have done that either, but in a way, she kind of deserved it because, it was never Mark that was disrespectful during the interview. I mean, he was 100% respectful in the whole 9 yards. And it's only when the questions got so tough and she started, wising up to, somebody's, trying to ask me questions that we simply don't have the answers to, that she started getting really, disrespectful. And so, that's, like I said, I probably wouldn't have done it that way, but I also cannot necessarily fault Mark for doing that because in a way I think that she deserved it. So, that's where I'm coming from. And
right. So your friend, he didn't even have a problem with that. Yeah, I think, that would be the ethical kind of concern if it were, some kind of research, but it wasn't. And so it's kind of like when a comedian, Ali G or something comes to someone and plays a trick, or, Borat or something like that, But in this case, and in that sense, that's a prank. But as for the mockery, the way he did it, I thought, it wasn't necessary, but it didn't really raise a huge red flag. I understand. I think like what you're saying that after doing all this, he must have some sort of release. Maybe he needed to have some of that there. Just to kind of say yes. What I'm saying, like drive it in. Maybe it was too much for some people.
Yeah, I know, and honestly, some of the answers that she was giving were just ridiculous. It's like, oh well. I don't want to look at this. I don't even care about the data. I'm not going to look at it. That's not very scientific. But
I'm afraid of talking about it.
Yeah. And in my mind, that deserves a little bit of mockery, frankly, because she's supposed to be, she's like a poster woman for science. And, she's saying, well, I don't even want to look at it because, how do I know, this science was not submitted in front of academia, and therefore I'm not even going to look at it. It doesn't matter what all these hundreds of people around the world have done.
That was incredible. Anybody can tell that's ridiculous, because he's going against what you were saying before, the observations, everything. And then people are doing observations. He's like, no, but yeah. Is that me? I'm kind of, when I speak, I'm getting some sort of echo. I'm too but you know what I'm saying, right? She was just trying to nitpick and into the information he was just giving her, which is just plain information from observations from a bunch of people that she couldn't deny. The best she could do is some appeal to authority that was quite pathetic at the end.
Right. Yeah. And of course the other objection I think he had also was, he's wondering if Mark made her aware that he put that up, and he thinks that she should be at least made aware of it, probably re-uploaded the interview itself without the mockery, and then made her aware of it. But I said, look, no matter what, she said what she said, and she didn't say anything different than any other mainstream scientist would have said. And we all know that, right?
Yeah.
And most of them would have reacted in precisely the same way. They would have said exactly the same thing. So, I don't see why she would even have a problem with her responses, right? So,
right. That's right.
She shouldn't. She should stand behind them, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the same thing is true for some of the stuff that Lawrence Krauss has said, or Michikaku in movies that come out. I mean, they have to stand behind their statements, whether or not they're used in a documentary about geocentricity, or in this case, about the astrophysicists being being basically pseudoscience. Then I think sometimes we have to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I was even, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, this is so good. I sent it to David, and I said. And I guess he posted. I said it was long to post on the clock app, but he did it anyway. And I thought, if Owen Benjamin gets a hold of this, he can do some damage with it.
Right, for sure. I found an interesting quote the other day, and this is an article really old from the Los Angeles Times, but I just thought it was interesting. I'll read it real quick. It's from. His name is George C. Keyworth. He was the science advisor to Ronald Reagan, basically the entire time Ronald Reagan was in office. And this comment, or this quote, I thought was interesting. He says, "Of all the organizations that I have dealt with, I've only seen one that lied. It was NASA," science advisor Keyworth says today. "The reason they lie, of course, is because they are all wrapped up in a higher calling. In their eyes, these are white lies. They tell lies in order to do what has to be done, because in the end, the result will be for the betterment of the public. So they are not lying from evil, but nevertheless, they are lying."
Wow.
Pretty interesting, huh?
Holy cow. Yeah, you should actually share that on video.
Well, I don't want to give too much away from, that's part of my presentation.
Oh, okay. All right. Man, that is
image.
Unreal.
Yeah,
so he justifies it.
Right. And yeah, that's basically what the article's talking about. So it's Los Angeles Times, but if you search Los Angeles Times, George C. Keyworth, or the quote I just read verbatim, that is exactly what was said. But, that's the way that NASA sees themselves, right? Is that this is the whole mentality of
inspiring children to become scientists, right? And help the world.
Yep. And put them into the STEM research areas. And so if it's for the ultimate good, which is, and I've said this before, I think when you talk about astronauts, and whether or not they know what they're doing or whatever, I think that sometimes you can convince people that what they're doing or the lies that they tell are for the betterment of humanity at all. So
it's exactly what they say about Santa Claus. It's the same thing.
Right.
It's very, very, very similar, the whole kind of fantasy that it is. But in Santa Claus idea is more of a mafia style, If you don't behave, you don't get it. And there's some versions that they can take you in the bag as well if you don't behave, because it's the Swiss version.
A tough one. Put it in the bag of the Santa Claus. Oh man, I prefer being the ISS.
Oh boy, yeah. So very interesting quote, but yeah, no. So I think it'll be good to have Wakey Wakey on Sunday and hear what he's got to say or what he thinks about it. And but I think those things, it's hard for they need to be done, and it's just I don't necessarily think I'm the one to do them, but if somebody else is, like, way to go. But for me, I just I thought about it before with my FOIA requests and those kind of things. I always thought it was better to come from who I really am. And if any astronaut ever wanted to have a conversation with me or give me a tour of NASA or wanted to get me together to do some sort of live thing from the ISS, I'd be all for that. The problem is that with my name, they're not going to let me anywhere near that building. Mm-hmm. So I can kind of kiss that off.
Yeah, exactly. So, overall, I said to my friend, I said, look, I agree. And I actually support Mark in what he did. Maybe it was a little bit deceptive, but, the flip side is, had he not done that, he would have never gotten the interview. And, she's allowed to spew her rhetoric, to tens of thousands of more times people than Mark would, could ever dream of reaching.
True.
Mm-hmm. And let's face it, astrophysics is pseudoscience. It is a joke to even call it a science, and I think it's a slap in the face to real scientists, like my friend is, And I said, it's pure conjecture. They can't do any experiment. Everything they do is pure speculation. And not only that, the way they speculate is so ridiculous. When they go out and they talk about, imaging black holes, the way that it's done, I covered this on Globebusters. They will put these radio telescopes all over the plane, right? And it is essentially akin to taking, let's say they had even 500 of them, which I don't think they have that many, but let's say they had 500 of these telescopes, and they're trying to resolve an image that is a gigapixel, right? So basically what they're doing is they're taking these 500 positions, they're getting 500 pixels, if you will, of sampling, and from that, they are then extrapolating to known images of what we have in our Earth database of all kinds of pictures, whatever, everything that's been taken or speculated, and whatever comes to the closest match is what they say it is.
What? Right. That just sounds. It just sounds like people like just to get that straight, Bob. Like they're getting some data that then they try to match to things that have been published of photographs of stuff from the Earth. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what he's saying. I showed the TED Talk of the woman that was in charge of that project, and that's exactly what she said.
And then they come up with their image of the black hole or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
and in fact, when you start looking, trying to,
wackiness,
trying to analyze in steps, from the interview that Wakey Wakey did, the first thing that the woman leave clear is that we in astrophysics, we study mathematics, we study astronomy, and also programming. Because right now, being an astrophysicist is like being a game programmer. You use computer software that you are not constructing, you are not build up those programs, you don't have access to the source code. So those programs are already embedded. The spherical Earth or the astronomical unit or the heliocentric model is embedded in those calculations from the ground.
Even if you do even if you create the program from the ground up, it's still running a simulation of something.
Exactly. In those starting parameters.
Exactly. You look something, but in the ultimate reality, your own mind was programming by the heliocentric model. So you look something in the sky. So you immediately, if you are an astrophysicist, you immediately going to assume that that light in the sky is what the heliocentric model told you. So you're going to start building your computing software from the ground or from the scratch with that assumption at the first glance,
And that's also how they calibrate their machines when they come up with a new machine. That there's this whole story that the Brazilian flat earther, the geophysicist, was talking about, that there's like, you calibrate your machine, and then somebody who gets the measurement for you asks, did you calibrate your machine? There's like somebody who checks And then did the person who calibrated your machine, did they calibrate their machine? And then somebody else who calibrates the machine, the person who calibrated the machine, that calibrated your machine. So, and it all probably goes back to those metrologists there on the GMT that we were talking about before, remember? Like they're the line, the center of the world. It goes straight to the metrologists in England.
Yeah,
You know,
that is the first problem for these guys, you know. And after all, for me, I agree in some part of this, you know, in this topic to say, okay, you don't need to, you know, change your name and do all this stuff.
To deceive.
But at the same, yeah, replace your identity to get an interview. But at the same time, for example, for me, I have my own radio show here in my city. And I trying to interview, you know, professional from my from university from my city, and nobody wants to come because
They're
immediately they're afraid, and immediately they type Irulanducci, and immediately you're gonna have all the information that you know that from my background. So if I change my name, of course, maybe I can get it. That kind of interview, but if I use my real name, nobody wants to talk with me. In terms of professional, of course, there are you know, so many.
One way to get around that.
Better.
Sorry, Edu. Like one day to get around that is to have maybe one of your friends, like Rafa, for example, or somebody else who nobody may know, or you know, somebody that nobody knows that they're involved with you. And then say, oh, would you like to talk to a friend of mine who's just a flat earther? And gives your name, Fernando, your other name. It's not even lying, you know. And then you come up.
No, but you are still in your mind. You are still tricking.
Right.
You know,
Still
you are
deceptive.
still cheating. In your mind, you're still cheating. So it's the same thing, you know. But that is also a strategy. You can say it's cheating, and you can also say it's a strategy, you know, because every journalist out there, when you need to start you know, trying to get interviews of some, you know, some controversial topics, you need to use some strategy. After all, you are not lying in the sense of the interview itself. Your questions are validated. You know, your questions are true without any kind of trickery behind it, in terms of in terms of the interview itself. But what I want to say is, this woman at the end, she could take another path, like saying, for example, look, don't ask me more this kind of question because it's not my expertise. So if you want to talk about exoplanet, it's great. I don't have any problem. That is my expertise. The other topics, I'm really not. I am not an expert talking about that. Well, if you want, I can give you some telephone numbers from colleagues of mine, and maybe they can answer your question. But my specialty is exoplanet. But no, because she started to, you know, like develop this attitude, trying to. You know, defend his position about being an astrophysicist, and this idea of I need to know everything because I am a scientist and astrophysicist. Mm-hmm. And she by themselves start going inside of this exactly, and then she was very aware about the flat earther, because she said like
she suddenly realizes what's going on.
Yeah, some people, like 3 people before, asking me about the flat earth, and I don't want to talk, and immediately she becomes like a child, and she becomes with this attitude as a child. I don't want to.
Right.
Amazed.
Yeah. So, yeah. I guess.
Well, one thing that was great, how she admitted that the way that NASA transformed the data that was supposedly becoming exoplanets into planets that looked like these beautiful CGI things with volcanoes and different properties and so on, she admitted that was disingenuous, and she was against it, which led me to, you know, you can watch the whole thing, and what I realized is that maybe she has been really bamboozled by the whole thing. She believes it. You know, she's not like a straight-on liar who's being placed there to, you know, just who knowingly makes stuff up that we might expect some people to be doing. I think she just went through the system and, did her math and physics and everything, and she ended up in this field, believing it, believing the stuff that they were saying, or maybe understanding that there's some problems, but I didn't think she was deliberately lying. That's why I think that's at least a possibility. I'm not so sure, but
No, completely. I totally agree. The thing is that she didn't want to review his fundamental of the theory, because when you start talking about the flat Earth or the spherical Earth, from the question that Wiki did, it's just the basement, the fundamental thing of your theory.
Yeah.
So they don't want. She doesn't want to recap that, because you are talking about just simply and pure observations. Like, okay, this observation contradict your model in the fundamental part of your model, which is we have a geometrical curve or not. Because if not, we are not a sphere, and everything in terms of the heliocentric model collapse on itself, and like we said before, all the assumption that you made in outer space, it hasn't any consequence in real life. It doesn't matter what happened in terms of the storytelling you are presented, because it's not real life. So you can say whatever you want. You can even invent it that some satellite crashes, whatever. It doesn't happen. It doesn't matter. You don't have collateral damage from that lie or that story. Because it's Narnia.
Yeah, part of their work is really to invent stuff. Jaren, I interrupted you. Sorry, you wanted to say something.
No, I'm just listening and looking at some pictures taken by Hubble, if you want to believe that. As Ira would say, if you want to see it in that way.
Yeah, and that is the other thing, For example, last night I was looking at the presentation given by ESA, and it's a new presentation. In fact, let me just.
Who's that?
ESA.
ESA.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you enter to the official ESA webpage? Sorry, YouTube channel.
YouTube channel for ESA?
YouTube. Sí.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, I was speaking in Spanish.
That's all right.
And one of the last. Let me see if it's not here. Oh, sorry, man. Maybe I. No, but I going to give you
spacewalk for AMS, all female.
No, it's a complete presentation. It's a complete presentation about the Big Bang, theory and the Planck satellite and all these microwave radiation. I'm going to tell you. It's in the European space. Yeah. It's from 28th of January. I'm going to copy and paste on the chat the link. And
is it with the guy? Oh, no,
I copy and paste in the chat. So if you can open it.
Sure, 1 second.
And I just,
Okay.
Okay. So for example, this guy is one of the most, important people right now in our time. Is like a specialist and an eminent in terms of the Big Bang cosmology.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So he gave a complete presentation, super detailed, with all of the kind of formulas and equations, and showing, of course, all is just data. It doesn't have you don't have any kind of real image.
No.
But the thing is that all that he explained is just, or not just, they need the NASA satellite.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because at the beginning, in the 7 minutes, of this talk, or this presentation at 7 minutes, he needs to use the COVE satellite imagery presented by NASA. So NASA, it really has the monopoly on all
Absolutely.
these topics. Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely.
I've actually
Yeah,
seen
and
people
ESA
from
and-
ESA saying that they wanted to go to the moon, that they want to do all these things, but they can't because NASA said they don't want to go. So
Exactly.
so if
And no, and after
can't
all,
just go on their
after
own.
all the theories, it's proved by NASA, because the only satellite that proves the heliocentric model, the Big Bang cosmology, the microwave background radiation, all that came from NASA. In fact, this guy talks about Dependence and Wilson and the other guy that received the Nobel Prize. Like, we need to give an applause to all these people that take the measurement from the ground, but that wasn't enough. We need this satellite from NASA to corroborate our predictions. So anytime you need to refer NASA. And his satellite, of course, right?
Yeah, it's their total monopoly on this. But the thing is,
Go
and they
to
have the
13
franchise,
minutes. Sorry,
and probably
13 minutes.
something with the Russians as well.
Yeah, and
But
look
the thing
that
is,
image a little more in the. Sorry, Rodrigo. A little more. 13 and
that's supposed to be an
23
orange,
seconds.
I hope. What is this supposed to be?
This
That's
was
an
supposed to
orange.
be it's an orange, but this is
Okay,
like
good.
the beginning of the explosion of the Big Bang. He's choking, but
good.
go a little more, and there you have it. That for him, it's the expression of the evolution from the satellite that proved the microwave background radiation.
that's even wrong model of actual what it's the mainstream model of human evolution.
Okay, but this is the
Because-
COP satellite, the WMAP satellite, and the Planck satellite. And
it's
this
ridiculous.
was the three satellites that they need to prove the prediction of the priest called Georges Lamaitre.
Right. And each one is dependent on the one before.
And that's
it.
all.
Yeah.
From the ground, exactly. You're dependent from the NASA technology and NASA satellites for everything, even from the global warming.
Oh yeah.
In every talk that I see, they show a lot of measurements from the ground, but the final verdict it gives us from the satellite from NASA.
It's kind of like the beauty of their system is that you as a student, say you just go to high school, they teach you science, you think it's great, go to school, you go to university, and you get to study with a teacher who has this NASA grant. So they have money for NASA, and if you really do well, maybe you can be his graduate student. And then, you've been getting this data from NASA. You've been
All
getting
the time.
straight data from NASA, and then you can analyze that, and you can contribute
Right.
to the story. Right? That's for them, that becomes the long-term kind of the goal of being part of some sort of history. They only don't know that most of it's science fiction. And the whole idea that we talked about before, that this microwave background stuff that supposedly is coming out of the radio telescopes is remnant of the Big Bang that's just sticking around. Somebody just made that up and they just ran with it for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that
Especially
makes no
if you-
sense.
especially if you know that the Big Bang never happened. And
Right.
in fact, what it appears to be, and there's a guy from the Electric Universe, and gosh, I forgot his name, Steve Carruthers, did a complete expose on that, and it was very comprehensive, and it turned out that what they're actually picking up is the microwave background from Earth's oceans.
Right,
Because
remember
not
that,
only
yeah.
does water absorb microwaves, but it also emits microwaves. And he's like, "Are you kidding me? This is where the microwave background was coming from. It's not from the Big Bang. That's just retarded." So
Yeah, and at the end of the presentation, at the end, like an hour and 2 minutes, he present of the brand that participate, in this investigation. Because a little forward, there you have it. So the scientific results that we presented today are a product of the Planck collaboration, including individuals from more than 100 scientific institutes in Europe and USA and Canada. So right now they're trying to say, okay, the Planck satellite give us the final result, but of course we have all these scientific institutions.
That's where the money is going.
Exactly,
Coming from.
man.
Those are the people
Exactly.
passing the money around. That's a money laundering enterprise. Well, most of it. Of course, the engineers don't know this because they're just doing the tasks that they're told to do. Work on this chip or that chip. This is going to do this. This is going to do that. What they never see is how JPL and NASA actually makes those things go up and they admit this. We saw it with the Smarter Everyday guy who talks about the valves, goes and talks to the engineer, and the engineer explains that he doesn't know. He just made the blueprints, and then everything else that NASA did it, how they put it there, how it works, he knows nothing about. He was not involved. And the same happened to James Lovelock back in the 70s. When he made some stuff that they said they're going to take to Mars, and he thought it had to be so many thousands of times better to work from Mars, but JPL did it, and then he says, "Oh, and they did it, so it's great." And I'm happy.
In fact, we never see the Planck satellite in orbit even. I mean, we see how they build it, and it's a bunch of metal parts. You know, maybe a car is more expensive in terms of the primary materials, but we never see in orbit. Where is the Planck satellite right now?
What we see is things that look just like satellites should look, falling off of balloons everywhere from time to time.
Of course. In fact, maybe not changing topics, but in related, can I make my first screen share, man? You paid for it.
All out.
Yes, my permission.
Yes,
Bob,
and Bob is also now my owner. My God.
Yeah, Bob's got you on a leash now.
And soon me, because I'm going to do it as well. I'm not going to stay out of this.
We got a super chat from Grizzly Bear. Says, I so appreciate your work. You need to do a live show with Owen Benjamin. All right. Well, we've had Owen on. He's been live on Raw before and called in 2 weeks ago on the Raw show. So check that out if you want to hear Owen Benjamin talk to David Weiss and myself. Okay, so Iru, let me get you set up here. Okay, let me see your screen. Oh, are you sharing yet?
Yes, I'm sharing. It's just I going, just because I believe this show proposed that we're talking about things that haven't any sense at all. So I want to bring.
Wait, what?
This. No, sorry guys, sorry. No, but this was an article that a friend of mine gave me today. It's an old one because it's from. It's from it's today presented. I translated. This is one of the biggest web site for news in Argentina. It's called Infobae, and he presented the amazing task of the space lawyers, from satellite crashes to floating scrap litigation. So this guy, he's from Argentina, and this is our planetary place here in Argentina. Planetarium, exactly. So this guy is a lawyer, and he became like a specialist in terms of the satellite law. And he talks about, and always is the number 11. It's everywhere, but he's the full complete interview. Of course, I just translated via the Google translated tool. But he talks about with this woman. This was the journalist that interviewed him, and he talks about all the law that involved of this situation where maybe some satellite can crash one with each other in space. But after the complete interview, because he gives TED Talks about this, and all the importance and the debris and how United States fight against the Russians because
they have don't they have a one that's supposed to collect the other satellites, like a trash,
a garbage satellite.
Right.
Yeah. For example,
supposedly has a camera on it.
Oh.
Yeah, and this was, for example, from a satellite that go down into Canada, and Canada present a case because the radiation of these tiny boxes that could, maybe kill some bears. I don't know, but this is like part of the history to bring the real heliocentric model in your mind, because this is just that. It's a balloon that crashed on the ground, and they trying to attach that situation to a satellite. But what I'm trying to say is this guy is going around the world giving that talks about the laws in the space. And in fact, in this article, they ended the article presenting the Space Force. I mean, this is all propaganda that it came all around in every corner around the world. And in fact, I remember, and I believe you shared and presented this, which was a case presented on the space law in the ONU, and where it says like the data presented by satellite is not take into consideration in terms of real life scenarios.
Yeah.
Because it's made by computers.
Right.
Exactly. So this guy, he's also have like a interview television. Of course, it's in Spanish, but when the most important thing is all these laws, they never take into consideration in outer space, because never a satellite crash with another satellite. So there is no responsible for that. All the laws contemplate just ground, falling to the ground. And they're still showing this as real picture, because this lawyer bring that because it was part of some cases that he take it, and I'm talking about this. So this is a satellite? I mean, where is the solar panel? Where is all the equipment? And then he starts showing us, not just satellites, but also space debris. But look at this. This is a satellite. Or this is the real equipment that they use to fake satellite technologies.
That's ridiculous.
But this came from space. I mean, these are military tests. These are what supposedly, of course, this is, for example, this is in China. And I assume that this is a rocket that they launched to the sea, and maybe the rocket didn't get the ocean and fall into the house of this guy. And then they go to CGI at images, but they present this as satellite. Where is the satellite inside this?
I know somebody covered this. You guys certainly saw it. That there was a Congress session where they were begging for money because there are too many satellites in space, and they're all laughing about it and getting the money and scaring everyone and saying that it was going to be a disaster. You see this?
Yeah. And they talked about, okay, this is a fuel component, but come on. I mean, it's ridiculous. But they need to take into consideration things that we show in the last Globebuster show, when, for example, a Samsung satellite, quote unquote, fall into your backyard, because that thing came from space in your own privacy property. So you can present a legal case to that. And that is where all these lawyers came into it.
Of course. Yeah, it makes sense from their perspective. It's real because they're talking about it. The satellites fall somewhere. It goes back in the Roman times. Some of their laws, there's one law, it's pretty interesting, that if along the riverbank, if a piece of a farm breaks off because of a flood, and it falls into somebody else's property and it attaches itself to somebody else's property, which apparently happened, then you have to deal with that. Whose land is it now that the elements took it from one farm to another, and that happened, which is crazy. But yeah, it's the same kind of deal.
Yeah, and I remember I have this old video, and this is a really old one, but take a look at what they say about the new technology in these times, okay, in these ages, trying to transfer in our time. And this guy is talking about the satellite meteorologic balloons. But take a look what they say.
Well, Gene, thousands of meteorologists today flooded Atlanta this week, not only to learn more about one another and about the latest in technology, but also to check out the latest and greatest weather stuff.
Rain gauges, anemometers, and giant balloons, oh my.
This is a model of a balloon that's 300 feet in diameter. This is a balloon that's designed to fly for 3 months and would fly around the world 15 times.
You might say, so what? Well, this technology could lead to better understanding of our atmosphere and more accurate forecasts. And these balloons are made by the same guys. Around every corner is the latest and greatest in all things weather.
Well, Gene, thousands.
3 months,
I knew
15.
I knew SpongeBob SquarePants was part of mainstream science. I knew it.
But this is an old article or
It's an old
news.
thing. But you
It's
see
an
how
old
they show
thing.
that ball, the projection ball, that's the same patent that you showed before that goes back to, I don't know when, the 50s. The kind of ball that has the Earth projected from the inside.
Yes, but I mean, he talked about 3 months, made by the same guys. So it's made by the same guys that made all the space things. That balloon can travel during 3 months, 15 times, all the complete,
15 times
circumnavigation
around
of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Three,
So
3 months, only 15 times?
but this one, you have
No,
a lot
I mean,
of
like
other,
if the Earth is spinning, right? Of course, we know it's not
Well,
happening, but how is it
maybe
going
you
around the
don't-
world
you
15
don't have
times?
that into account.
But the thing
You
is,
don't
like,
have that.
it's probably he's probably pointing to if it is indeed going around the world, it's probably following these jet streams somehow, and they managed to find out a way to keep these things going around the whole thing somehow.
Yeah.
It's something we don't really know about. Like why they're sending these. You even showed some other time big balloons that NASA has that stay even longer, much bigger, right?
Yes, let me just do a quick presentation, but let me just close that and open these. Here we got it. Altitude balloons. Yeah, they have a. I'm going just going. Going. For example, these ones, they can handle because we have the standard pressure balloons that there are the majority of that we see in the sky in the night sky when you see this tiny white dot crossing over. But then you have the super pressure balloons, and these are the super pressure that they have they are biggest than the ISS in the sky because it has 150 meters, so 5 meters more wide than the ISS.
Right.
And it has 70 meters in height. So can you imagine that? The volume is this one, 54 days, 3,600 kilograms, 2 million
carry,
to 3 millions. Yeah. And then you have this, which is just a tiny one.
It's quite
But this
cheap
is
compared to the satellite launch, right? At 300 million or something like that.
Of course, but this is the real difference, because they are super pressure balloons. They can go in a straight path above the standard, randomly winds that you have in the low stratospheric
That's their explanation
part of the atmosphere.
Right,
Exactly.
just to make sure. Yeah.
So this is the standard balloons, and it's go a little wacky.
Mm-hmm.
But when you use this kind of balloon, you can put it above the 50 kilometers, between 55 kilometers
15?
and 60.
15?
Yeah,
50 kilometers.
yeah,
Okay.
55
Right.
kilometers. And you can manage it in a straight path. In terms of
Right, halfway through the sprite, almost.
yeah. So you have all these, and these are the real satellites, and these are the ones who fall into your backyard, and you need a lawyer if you want to present a case.
We can call that guy if we need him. Jeez.
Let me just. Well, this is the kind of technology that
It's
falls
kind of
around. This is
scary,
from night.
that they have
from
thousands
night.
of these things on balloons out there, and that he knows how they control it. I know that since the 50s or 60s, the CIA had that program with these high altitude balloons that they had an airplane that was able to grab them by the tether.
Right, collect
And
them.
also they're authorized to kill people if people saw them, but I don't know what's the deal now. Yeah, Jaron, you looked into this, right?
Yeah, there's a good video by Robert Bassano.
Robert Bassano.
Yeah, and he talks a lot about it and reads some old articles and interviews with people that said that was their job. That it was very highly secret. They didn't know what they were doing, but they would get a call at any time, and they would have to get up in the plane and go quickly retrieve the balloon without anybody knowing. So we did get a Paul Capello. Thank you for the super chat. He says, keep up the good work, guys. I love not spinning. We've got the Flattered Vegans. Thank you very much, guys. Says, see you in Dallas. All right. And JQ, thank you very much. Big super chat. He says, see you all next week. So everybody's getting geared up for the conference. Should be fun.
And sometimes people say how they can, for example, because the standard brain, like to think in terms of, okay, I put a balloon and it go wildly with the wind. No, they use a motor.
Right.
They put motors, they put motors and they put fins and this kind of technology that the planes use, and they can drive it.
And they can control it. Yeah, they can control it via computer. You don't even need a person there. You can just tell the computer,
Exactly.
I want to keep this balloon in this location. And if it starts getting a little bit low, even if it drops by, a few feet, 50 feet, something, then they fill it a little bit with more hydrogen. And if it starts to go up too much, you can vent a little bit of the hydrogen or helium. Absolutely.
Actually, the way that's done, Jaron, is through the electrodynamic tethering that they've done. And again, this is the same technique that spiders do when they balloon. But essentially what they do is they just drop a really long piece of material. I don't know if it's conductive. I think it has some conductivity to it. And it's literally a tether that comes off the bottom of the balloon. And then all they do is vary the charge potential on it, which causes it to go up and down. And that then allows the balloons to take advantage of the different levels of
voltage.
Winds aloft.
Interesting.
Yeah, the voltage changes. Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
And the voltages in the high altitude voltages are extreme, right? It's like super
They
high
are.
voltages.
They are. And all they have to do is change the charge potential, which will then cause either attractive or repulsive type of attraction or repulsion, like I said, and it will cause that balloon to rise or fall. And we already know that going around in circles, at different levels, as we've seen from the null school AE map, that these winds aloft or these prevailing winds up there are constant at different elevations, so they can just navigate up, down, left, right. Plus, they have the motors on them for any fine tuning or station keeping. And yeah, absolutely, these are satellites. And the reason that NASA is the biggest helium user in the world is because they have so many of them up there, proclaiming to be, satellites in space. So
remember Bob, remember when we heard that there was over 50,000 in the air at any one time?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I forgot where that interview was or what video that is, but it's actually an interview with a guy who says, yeah, at any one time there's over 50,000 balloons above your head.
Yeah, that came from Victor Brewer, who was talking with a high-ranking officer in the Air Force that was being very candid with him and telling him all about that.
Right.
So, yeah, it was on Globebusters.
Yeah, and there's articles out there, too, that say that NASA still launches up to 50 a day of these balloons from all over. So when you start thinking about that...
Makes sense that that's what they're actually doing, right? With behind the scenes. And it's actually hidden in plain sight.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's 50,000 up there, I don't know how many satellites they say. Have you ever tried to look into that number? How many satellites are actually...
This guy, for example, the lawyer, said that we have inactive 1,500 satellites. The rest is just junk and debris and, just metal, piece of metal without any kind of use. But it's like they need 2,000 of these big guys up in the sky to provide all the services that we believe they came from satellite.
Totally agree.
No, in terms of imagery, because the imagery is doing by another system, which is aeromapping, aerogrid, and things like that. But for example, this ISS fuel scale, because the ISIS, this balloon can take up in the sky from 5 years.
Right. I was going to say that they may tell you it's 30
flight duration,
3 months, 6 months, but I know that they can do it much longer. I've seen even reports that several years, and if they're reporting that, it's probably much more.
Yeah.
What's TBD? Their first flight to be disclosed, so they haven't even. That's classified. If you go back, when it was giving the statistics on that big Zeppelin, because some of them are manned right? So they have people in them way up there. I think, so in some of those.
Yes, but the majority is unmanned.
Unmanned. Yeah, but I saw there were a few that are manned. So I mean, that's their space force.
Bob, do you think? I know that.
No, and then. Sorry, then you have this, and with this I shut up. But then you have this kind of images, this real project that, of course, it takes the shape of OVNI, of UFO, but in reality, that is how they camouflage satellites, using this idea of UFO. And you can see this one is a really, really tiny one. But for example, you can go to these NASA experiments that they are in the sky. And this is a really big one. And of course, what is the idea behind this? You prefer that the people say that they saw a UFO, then they saw a satellite which is in inside our atmosphere.
Right.
So
the size of that one. It's a nice way to do both things at the same time. You get your satellites in space, you get your UFOs with people running around, and it's all done.
It's all swamp gas, man.
Yeah. No, but they love that. I mean, they that's what they want. They don't want, and then it just tells them how much higher they need to go if people are observing those things. That's why NASA gets all the calls of any kind of strange thing that any pilot sees. The person that they call or the organization that they deal with is, of course, NASA. And they can shut it up. They can say, we don't want to talk about it anymore. We don't want to talk about that, or whatever the case, but it never seems to amount to much more than just talk, from those guys. It just seems like it's never going to be something that we can pinpoint and say, oh, this is for sure, because they can come out with the press release way before, or the pictures or whatever it is that, people find. Thank you, I am being for the super chat, and I think I mentioned JQ already, but JQ, you are the best. Thank you so much. Can't wait to meet you in Dallas.
Yeah. Awesome. Were you going to ask me a question earlier, Jaron?
Yeah. Do I remember what it was?
You said Bob something.
Yeah, one of the things that I wonder is, I've often talked about maybe the fuel hoax being that they don't want people to travel far. But I wonder if that has something to do with these, lighter than air ships, these huge, helium ships. And obviously we've had the ones that have exploded, and so not very many people use them anymore. Obviously we've got the Goodyear blimp, but besides that, there's not a lot of them. I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that you could travel much further in one of those crafts. And, do you really need that much fuel? I don't know how those things drive themselves, but I always wonder if somebody were able to get into a big blimp, and travel south, how far could they go? You can't really do that in a plane, right? Because there's nowhere to land, supposedly, in Antarctica. So, people would be putting their lives on the line. But I wonder how far a helium ship could travel.
Yeah. If that one can stay aloft for 5 years, imagine they can just go anywhere they want.
Yeah, and I'll say this. The jet fuel hoax, I mean, that's interesting. And frankly, I tend to believe that there's probably some truth to that. But having seen these particular craft personally, I've talked several times on Globebusters about, Cammie and I will be sitting out in the backyard in the hot tub, and I will see a few times now, I have seen a triangular shaped craft fly right over the house, not more than a couple 100 feet high, completely silent, completely comes out of nowhere. And it obviously is not using any jet propulsion. And to me, I'm sure that the reason that they're trying to keep all this anti-gravitic technology, from reaching the mainstream, because so many people have actually, released this technology, and it's either been bought out or, and buried essentially. But so, to me, the military is not even bothering with something as primitive as air balloons for stuff like this. They are more than likely using craft to travel beyond the Antarctic is this, high-tech stuff that is using the anti-gravitic technology. Now, they can't really necessarily do that for their so-called satellites, because if one of those bad boys came down and somebody got a hold of it, they would be in a world of hurt. So they're kind of stuck, in my opinion, to having to use the helium balloon, technology.
Mm-hmm.
But having seen it myself personally, I know it's there, and I know it's ours. I don't believe it's little green men. I don't know how it works or anything like that, but I can tell you it isn't anything conventional. And I know I'm not the only one that's seen it either.
Yeah, back in the day when I was looking at this alien stuff, there was this channel called Alien Scientists, and this guy that talked about these propulsion, different kinds of nanomaterials, and so they basically, the idea is like rotating helium. It's one of the ideas in a superfluid state, and that generating some sort of electromagnetic field that then it can be basically they can go in the air like water.
Right? Yeah, the helium-4 or something like that. I've heard about that.
Different kinds of things supposedly they tried, but then even mercury, I think, at some point. But then I don't know what's the deal with helium, why helium, but helium-4 is one of the things in the superfluidic state, and so on and so forth. And these are the people who think that there's either back engineering of alien craft or and there's a combination for some of them. There's a combination of the actual alien craft and the human-made crafts and whatnot. But what we can see is that most of it's just human-made.
Oh, of course it is. I mean, it's obviously all human-made, but they want you to believe that this stuff is extraterrestrial, which is, just simply nonsense. I mean, maybe it's from possibly an advanced civilization, further out on the plane. I don't dismiss that, but I also think that the military has this tech and has had it for quite some time, because anything that the public has released, and I think this is probably true. The reality is that the military is easily 50, 60, 100 years ahead, and it seems like our technology really has become largely stagnant. In a lot of ways. I mean,
they've always controlled the industry has always controlled, the versions of what they're going to give you, and they don't give you the best that they found out. They're going to give you in increments, very little bit, and if something may cause trouble in another kind of industry, which I remember, clearly, 20 years ago, seeing a prototype of that could draw write inside crystals with laser. And that, a small crystal, you could have, a huge amount of information. That got buried, that disappeared, like the water car and all these. Now we know that you just, some other guy found out again that you can blast water with a kind of frequency and you can burn it. These things are going to people are going to keep finding out these free energy sources, and they're going to keep getting buried by the same people who want to control everyone else. It's just been going on for so long. It's annoying, right? And I don't know what I'm saying, but
no, I was just I guess for me, I was just wondering how much fuel does it take to run one of those blimps? Because I don't know if people believe in the Hindenburg and all that stuff, but I often wonder if blimps could actually have people travel much further. Sorry,
I think you're assuming, Jaron, that the blimps are using fossil fuels. I mean, it's more than likely that they're using a solar and electric motors than combustion engines.
So then really they could travel indefinitely.
Pretty much.
Right. And so the whole idea of the Hindenburg, and it exploded, and now we don't have any kind of there's really no passenger blimps.
Yeah, they could have people up there as long as they want for years, living in some sort of base. they could.
Oh, they with the Hindenburg story. Yeah, they keep that technology just from military and government institutions. They just with that story they take out of the public.
Absolutely.
But they still using. They are completely still using. We show a lot of models in real life putting up there. They still using for advertising. Camouflage advertising, because they just put like DirecTV brand on the outside of the balloon, but inside is a telecommunication system or whatever. So they only take that out of the public, but they keep it, and they keep development this technology.
Yeah, another thing for the anti-gravitics technology, the stuff that might be hidden, the stuff that Bob says that he's seen with his own eyes, right? That's moving around. That, of course, if this kind of breakaway, what some people call breakaway civilization, is not really. It's just these people who are hoarding this special technology. The idea there, at least as far as has been sort of theorized, is that they are going to get such an advantage that they are going to come in with such incredible technology. That's the whole Blue Beam project, right? And as we see even some films come out
Blue Beam project. NASA Blue Beam.
NASA
Yeah,
Blue
come on.
Beam,
Hero told you. Make sure you put NASA in front of that.
Yeah, with people.
NASA.
Yeah, NASA Blue Beam. So with people coming in, we saw it, there's a series or a film on Netflix that it's about, fake alien invasion as well. Humans pretending to be aliens. So that whole kind of scenario that, a lot of people have been talking about, but we haven't seen that coming in.
But right now we have the technology in terms of the customs from Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You can dress up a human being as whatever you want. You can put even 6 arms if you want, and walk on the street, and nobody going to detect that. At least you take that being and split in half to see that inside is just a regular human. But they use nanotechnology, nano motors, and all these robotics in miniature from the 90s to create robotics, parts. So you can dress up a human as a UFO,
I think is
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. You can do whatever you want right now.
Right.
In fact, in terms of for example, faking we have contact with this alien being, but just in terms of presidential, so they show a real video that Donald Trump talking with the alien, and nobody's going to touch or trying to investigate that superior being. So they can fake whatever they want right now. I mean,
one of the films I was watching,
a global world, so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, one of these films is called the World War A for Alien, and basically one of the theories that they're pushing as well is that I think we talked about it before, is that these hybrids are in, or these aliens look exactly like us, so you can't even tell the difference. So they infiltrate it. It might be you, Ido. You might be an alien, according to their theory.
Maybe
it's no, but it is what they're saying. These guys were involved with Greer and all those guys that talk about aliens all the time. They're saying, they're already here and they look exactly like you, because they might be coming from another planet, but we have all reasons to believe, according to evolution, that that might be the same.
Yeah, well, personally, I've always kind of thought Hero was an alien, so it could be true.
We can test it on Dallas, man. I can invite you to my room and spend some hours there, and you can test it.
There you go. We'll see if Bilu shows up.
Only if you can talk to Bilu. That's what I was going to say.
Could be a great party, man.
Yeah, Ido, you should interview Bilu. Maybe they can get you to do that.
Yeah, but no. The last time that I interviewed him, it was not so funny, so I don't want to see again.
It just seems like those airships were all supposed to be the fad, right? That's what we heard was going to be, especially if you go back and look at stuff from the 20s and 30s.
Absolutely.
That was the future of travel.
And it looks like it's cool, but then the thing is that they showed you the Heisenberg whatever exploding and that horrible thing, and then supposedly that was the end of the whole thing, and it could never be made safe and so on and so forth. Whereas we've seen that they have thousands of them out now, right? So why isn't it commercialized? What's the big deal?
Right, especially when, like Bob said, couldn't you construct the entire outside in solar panels and not need any fuel?
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But something just occurred to me, and I just thought of this. But how Iru was showing that airship with the propeller on the outside of it, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, if these things are going up, above 60, 70,000 feet, the air is getting pretty thin up there. And, I can tell you that, as a pilot, when you fly at high altitudes, we have something that's called a variable pitch prop. And, when you get up higher, basically what you can do is you can increase the pitch of the propeller to take a larger bite out of the air, if you will, right? But the point is that if we kind of have that facility available to us, in small craft, then what's going on with these balloons that are going up potentially up to 100,000 feet? Because as we saw, with what's his name's jump, that
Thin air.
Baumgartner's. Yeah, the air is really thin, so I'm wondering how efficient would a propeller even be at an altitude like that?
Probably not much.
Yeah, but remember that you still have wind currents up there, so you have wind up there.
Not quite that
So
high.
you have
At 120,000 feet, you think?
50 kilometers. They still have wind currents.
They say so. That's what they were saying when you was showing that.
And they
The
use it,
diagram.
and it's official. It's something official. Of course, that is why I will take this into the Dallas conference if you guys all agree. I talk with Bob, but that is why I propose. Of course, I don't have the money and I don't have the equipment or the team to build it, but it will really nice to put some kind of these fans outside in the sounding rocket and test what happened up there in terms of propulsion via wind or via these air conditions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, that'd be a great idea. I don't know if that probably have a huge cost, but I don't know if it's that much.
Yeah, something like go fast. Of course, the thing is that you don't have permission to access to the fuel to reach that altitude, because you need to all the approval from the
Of course.
FAA and all that kind of things, of course, right?
Ido, how long does the Go Fast take to get that high when it enters that fluid that we talked about, that where everything gets cut off?
Less than 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Less than 3 minutes.
Wow.
Because this sounding rocket can reach very fast the Mach 3, Mach 6, Mach 4. So they travel at 6,000 kilometers per hour really fast.
The thing is that's really funny because, if they do that in 3 minutes, they're going way faster than escape velocity, because to do that at 100 kilometers, the ISS, I guess it takes 8 minutes. They say 8.5 minutes to make it to 17,500 miles an hour. I think that turns out to be 2,000 miles per minute of acceleration for the people going up the rockets. So it'll be interesting to compare the different velocity that they claim that the Go Fast is going with what the astronauts say that they're doing, because just to get another nail in the coffin kind of thing. Because these things are actually going up.
Yeah, when you see, for example, the space shuttle or all these, the space shuttle is a great example because they film it at really high quality, and you can see how the bubble of the air is forming when the space shuttle reach the Mach 1. And when they reach the Mach 1, and you can see all this air bubble in the front, after that, after a few seconds after that, they get rid of the primary booster, and supposedly that spaceship needs to reach at least 15,000 kilometers before leave the atmosphere. So how they take that velocity in so short time with that
dumped one of the
among us spacecraft, Right. So you have the sounding rocket, which is only 3-4 meters high, and with a diameter of 30 centimeters, 50 centimeters, that reach in 3 minutes 6,000 kilometers per hour.
Right.
Because it's really, really light, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the space shuttle that supposedly weight at super tons, and it reached 16,000 kilometers per hour. Come on.
Bullshit.
Yeah, man. I mean, I can show you. You just see the. I don't know if I have in this.
It looks like it goes up slow as well, right?
Here you have it.
Look at this.
Here you have it. So this is, of course, is an accelerating video.
Right.
But supposedly, right now, you can see how it's tumbling and start to. This is official, okay? Supposedly, you launch, you start to power for ascent, and at this stage, before the 100 kilometers, you need to separate the primary booster, and at this height, you need to reach at least the 50% of the orbital velocity, which is 13,000 kilometers per hour. So you start looking this, and right now you're gonna see how the bubble of air it's forming because it's passing the Mach 1. So here you have it. Okay, right now it's 1,200 kilometers per hour, 1,400 kilometers per hour. And if you see it, it's not accelerating so much.
Yeah. No.
So right now, with this telescope camera reaching this image, which is less than 50 kilometers, they rid off the primary booster. They don't have any kind of super boost to reach the velocity that they need.
Yeah. Now the shuttle's on its own engine, and it's still got all that mass. So there's no way it's going to accelerate to Mach 33 or Mach 25 to be able to get out there. It's so freaking absurd. And what happens again? What happens to people's common sense? When they look at that, they're just jettisoned the primary boosters. Then those shuttle engines are not powerful enough to get it going that fast. Even from that altitude, it's still got all that mass and inertia to overcome. It's never going to happen.
Never completely, man. And in fact, if I compare right now, just very quickly, because I don't have this prepared for this presentation, but let me just open, for example, the Maxus 9 rocket launch. So this is like the Maxus 9, which is one of the greatest to analyze a few things. Well, this is just after the launch, but no, this not. Let me just put, this is a GoPro camera, okay? Don't worry, the earth is still flat. Yeah, man. No, let me just, I'm trying to find it. Maybe this one. Yeah, the Matthews 5. For example, right now, you can see how fast this, because this is the symbolic arrow to the dawn for me. Okay, when you start looking into the ancient civilizations and they depict this idea of pointing an arrow and trying to penetrate the dome, this is like the idea. They use like this tiny arrow to trying to penetrate that, and when they reach the karma line, they enter in this superfluid state. But this is real time. This is real time, and this rocket reached the 120 kilometers up there in just a few minutes, because this goes like 6,000 kilometers per hour with no people, no payload, no equipment, no nothing. It's just a really ultra, weightless equipment. Of course,
so it burns all its fuel on a single go, bah, and then it just.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but this is real time. This is real time, and unfortunately, we don't have this kind of access. Mach 6.5 right now. Right now is Mach 6.5. This tiny arrow in comparison with the super big ones that
it's
NASA or Russians.
In speed, right? It's not even half the speed.
Yeah. So there you have it. That is about 90 kilometers, and then from the inertia of that acceleration, they stabilize the rocket. The other parts start falling down. This reach the 120 kilometers. It's entering the superfluid state. They call microgravity. They cut it. They don't show you because they say that you can only have access to that part of the video if you pay, but not pay for looking at that. If you pay to put your super tiny experiment inside the rocket.
Right.
Yeah,
so that absurd. Is the only, it's absurd, man.
And I thought for a long time here that, right around that 100-kilometer mark, it may be a little bit more or a little bit less, but I think that's pretty much their limit, to what anything can go to at all. Yeah,
I completely agree.
Well, the temperature is almost 0 Kelvin over there. What can survive?
Supposedly, yeah.
What you're showing.
But what happened if you start? For example, right now you start a fan here. I mean, it could be because let me just make my idea.
Between the.
Let me just, for example, I believe I have it here in the because the German people, they give us a lot of free videos before the flat Earth came away.
Sorry, Ido, you said that rocket was 30 centimeters long. Is that correct?
Yes, you have all the official measurement.
So it's a very tiny.
This. It's very tiny. Yeah, this is another one, but this was a really cloudy day, so you don't have that kind of super. And look how this electrical formation that we have in the rivers, and it's amazing. Let me just no. I just sorry for my. This is the size, This is the rocket that they send it. It's just tiny as that.
A little bigger than that.
Yeah.
A little bigger than I was thinking.
This is another one, for example, and this is a 2-minute video that reach the same thing, and you can see. And this, I want to remark this for the people. This is 120 kilometers, and you have a flat line. Not 40 kilometers, no 10 kilometers, no 120. So, what is the spherical globe model there?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson would say, "You can't see that even from the ISS altitude. That stuff
What's that? Is that the moon?
From the ISS? Now it's from the ISS. Ah, okay, nice.
No, was that the moon on the screen?
Suppose it was the Felix Van Garner champ that he told. This is for example, this is the Matthew 5, 400, less than 500 kilograms. And supposedly this was an Apache of 253 kilometers.
Right.
And 6 minutes of microgravity. So look at that. That is a tiny arrow, man. And that is why they reach that altitude. If you put a super big mass, you're going to reach 30 kilometers at least.
So they're saying that they were almost as high as the ISS with this little rocket?
Well, this rocket reached 250 kilometers. The ISS is 400.
400, right, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know. I just have, all the evidence that I've seen so far really seems to top out. I know that Go Fast was something like 73 miles or something like that.
Yeah, 120 kilometers.
Is this the top, how high it went? Because you can compare to the other one that they say was 100 kilometers, and this one that you say is 200.
right now, they entry 6 minutes of microgravity.
6 minutes.
6 minutes, and they don't show nothing. And
now, just out of curiosity, what is it exactly that they're saying microgravity? I mean, because the ISS supposedly is susceptible to 95+% of Earth's full gravitational pull, right? And it essentially, they tell us, is that it's falling around the Earth, and that's why it has to keep. So the question is what is this that they're talking about when it hits microgravity? What does that mean?
Well, what that means is that, let me just open.
It's a code. It seems to be a code that they're lying. It's not microgravity. It is when those fluids are there. It's what the rocket just came out of.
No, but the microgravity in terms of of supposedly what they say is like this is the ground. So you take out. This is the platform. Okay, this is the rocket. Start ascending, almost in a straight line, but it's a parabolic line. So here is the karma line. So the rocket pass the karma line and make these parabolic flights, and then enter to other. So this part here is the 6 minutes of microgravity in this supposedly condition, but they cut off. And right now the rocket is going all crazy. It's moving all the places. So how you can have those 6 minutes of microgravity, controlled microgravity? If the rocket starts spinning all crazy.
Well, the other thing that you can compare, this video just showed, because I haven't seen that before, and the one that you're showing last week, the same kind of watery thing happens as it's going from the so-called microgravity state and then out into where it starts falling really fast all of a sudden, right? those same kind of squirts of water, whatever, happen at the same time during that transition from one state to another. So there's a sharp transition, right? This is what we're getting into. I know the official explanation is that there's a parabola, but there's literally what seems to be the case is that there's something else there that right, like the hexafluor.
Yeah, like some sort of liquid or something like that. I mean, when the Go Fast rocket, popped its yo-yo D-spin mechanism, I mean, it really, really sounded like it was underwater. The sound that you had there. So that it almost would indicate that there is some sort of a transitional, like soft barrier, maybe. Who knows? And again, that would support the waters above, waters below type of thinking as well. But it's just a really interesting thought. The other thing I thought of too, guys, about the ISS and its alleged orbit is that, they're saying that it is going around Earth at a constant rate of 17,500 miles per hour. But the pull of gravity, or the force of gravity, right, is supposed to be 9.8 meters per second squared, meaning that it is constantly accelerating, right? So I was thinking about this, and for the longest time, and this has got me completely bamboozled, but if the gravitational pull is accelerating exponentially at 9.8 meters per second squared, wouldn't that mean that the ISS would also have to match that going forward into infinity and beyond, right?
Yeah. At what point does it stop accelerating, right? If it's falling with the gravity, right?
Right. They would have to say that it's being controlled the whole time, and it's constantly squirting some sort of boosters that we've never seen it do to constantly slow it down to the speed where it's just falling just enough to miss the curvature of Earth, right?
Exactly. And why is it that the bottom of the ISS is always pointed towards Earth? If they have to apply a thruster to that, and you would think that they would have to, otherwise gravity is even more magical than we ever thought, then how much fuel are they consuming to change the mass of that, to bring the entire mass of that space station around so that it is perfectly perpendicular with the surface of the Earth, right?
Right.
And that's just not happening. So what in the world is keeping the bottom to the Earth? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think one of the ways that they do that they bamboozle people is the equation between the idea of orbiting and the idea of free fall, because they will tell you right away that the ISS is free falling. That's what microgravity is. But then they give you this ridiculous speed. So the idea is for people to imagine that orbiting itself is free falling. And then they can, of course, at the same time do their film things in
They're
free
straight
fall.
up saying that. They're not giving the impression of that, Rodrigo. They're saying
you,
they're telling you that. What's happening is they're in free fall around the Earth. It's like, well, if free fall is constantly accelerating, why isn't the ISS?
Right.
So, that's my question.
Yeah, that should be added to the astrophysicists worst nightmare book.
Yeah, amen to that.
I got to go let my dog out to pee. I'll be right back. You guys
Okay.
can hopefully just talk about whatever you're showing. Be right back.
Okay.
No, I just keep showing this rocket for the German company, and they all reached the apogee of 120 kilometers, 100 kilometers, and of course they use you can really see in the first in this first image, first plane image, that they use these spherical lenses, but of course when they reach the, like I showed you before, when the camera
still flat
is
in the center.
Yeah, it's still flat in the center at 120 kilometers. I mean, this is globe killing immediately, man. It's
bad.
it's really bad for them. But I told you this, Bob, that I really like to present a little bit of this in the Dallas conference if I have a few minutes, because for me it's a nice way to trying to just put out there some new information about what maybe is happening, and not just that, but but most important,
Well, what
the
is
idea.
this now? What is this thing? What is this? Why does it
It's a
look like
rocket. This is an really old rocket from the Germans. That this is the first rocket they launched in 2006, something like that. And this is the microwave, the microgravity or the superfluid state.
Right.
But the idea is because Dallas is so important conference that you never know who is watching this, and maybe some guy had the opportunity to build up this kind of rocket and do this test based on putting some equipment that go outside the rocket and test for electricity, for fluidity. I don't know if that is a
Or
word.
even take a sample of whatever it is there.
Whatever is there, because all this this kind of access to this part of the world is just for governmental institutions. In fact, the Go Fast rocket, they received the permission from NASA and the FAA, right?
Yeah, all the airspace regulated.
Yeah, and after that, the experiment of the Go Fast, they create their own company called Up Aerospace, and they work from NASA right now.
Right,
Because
they got taken over.
Exactly, it was like a test. Okay, guys, you have the team. Can you do it? If you do it, you work with us.
Yep. So hey, let's put this on hold for just 1 second. I want to answer something that somebody said in the chat that I think that I considered this also, and I think it's a good point. But Romans 1:16 posited terminal velocity, as being the explanation as to why the ISS, or at least I assume this is what he meant, as to why the ISS would stay at a fixed velocity of 17,500 miles an hour. And Romans, I thought about that, and yeah, I suppose that's a plausible explanation. But then you also have objects that are in higher and lower orbits, but those speeds don't ever seem to be commensurate with any sort of, I guess, what would be called a terminal velocity at those heights. And of course, when we speak of terminal velocity, what we're talking about is when you hit a rate of drop that is matched by your drag, right? So in other words, when you skydive, they will tell you that your terminal velocity is roughly about 120 miles an hour. And the reason for that is because of the viscosity of the air then becomes somewhat of a match for your body mass. And even though you should still be accelerating, the resistance is essentially opposing that drop, right? So that's terminal velocity. And if you were to extend that line of thinking up to the so-called...
the vacuum, there's no right,
well,
nothing to rub
remember,
against.
and this may be why NASA decided to extend the atmosphere all the way to the moon so that they could cover this with that line of BS, right? but so
Right.
So yeah, I think Romans raises a very valid point here. Maybe that would be the answer, that at that 250 mile altitude, that you have just enough air resistance there that's the reason why it doesn't have to keep dropping.
Yeah, but
down.
the thing is, Bob, what about how does that, using the same line of thinking, what do you make out of geostationary satellites? Because aren't they also orbiting? Shouldn't they be accelerating? And how do they stay in the same place?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question because they supposedly are in the oh crap, what do they call those things? The
zoned.
Yeah, the zone where they crap.
Yeah, we remember. Yeah, the place between the two gravities balance out, and there's a zero zone. No, is it no?
Not the Kármán line, no.
Oh, okay.
Oh, for crying out loud! Brain cramp.
Yeah, there's
somebody in the chat knows what we're talking about. Anyway, it's that
the
point.
Lagrange point.
Lagrange point. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Lagrange.
Yes.
All right.
I had
so
to get back
yeah,
and realize what we're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
So and that's an interesting thing in and of itself. But when you start getting into that line of thinking, then you also have to ask yourself, well, once you break free, when you're in your little spacecraft and you're flying around up there, and you break free or are in one of these Lagrange points, then what?
Or you become okay.
Yeah, what is keeping you from being left in the dust by the ultimate 1.3 million mile an hour velocity of everything moving away from you, right?
Right.
The Globers will claim, oh, well, it's all relative, right?
Right,
Relativity.
there you go.
That's horse hockey. Sorry, it's just horse shit.
Yeah, how they keep up with the Earth going out around the sun going around the galaxy and everything, right?
Right.
You just have the original. They always tell you that you had the original acceleration of the galaxy with you before. That's the original frame of reference, is the galaxy accelerating 1.2 million miles an hour in one direction.
Yeah, but I mean, taking all that, even if we just went with the 67,000 mile an hour velocity, of the sun, again, what is it that's dragging you along? Supposedly you're in that frame of reference. The sun and the entire solar system's gravity essentially would theoretically be dragging you along. But the second you oppose that motion and start going in the opposite direction, then I would think that your velocity would drop off exponentially and you would be left in the dust, literally. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. And the Globers and their ridiculous explanations for it just frankly don't cut it for me.
Well, they believe you can take a sail to sail the solar wind, and they accelerate a micro tiny ship into another galaxy or system to look into different exoplanets. They're claiming this now.
Yeah, they're also claiming they can deploy a big screen big enough to cover the whole Earth from the solar eruptions, right? The solar flares. Mm-hmm. It's just so sci-fi, fantasy, ridiculous bullshit. It's beyond belief.
Yeah, and for example, this rocket, which is the Rexus, this was the Rexus 14, and they call the Space Sailors. Yeah, that is a nice reference. This reached 81 kilometers up in the atmosphere. And something that is really nice to look at is like, for example, when they deploy the nose cone with this equipment of this tinfoil, like a satellite or telecommunication, whatever, something happened. It's really, really nice here, because we are talking about 80 kilometers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 81, 84, 80. So right now you can see how a lot of these particles change direction. Of course, we are not supposedly in super outer space, but if, for example, if you paying attention to this big debris, it's changing direction. or someone of, if you start looking in a few of these particles, you are seeing like how they change velocity and change direction, and it's like being in some kind of turbulence environment. So something is there. I mean, could be less than, of course, that we are, under standard pressure and atmospheric pressure down here, of course, but there are fighting against something. And in fact, when you start looking in how these tinfoil start to inflate, of course you can believe like this is secondary motion from first movement, whatever, but when this being ejected, you can see how these start to inflate, like receiving wind. Some restriction from the front, some kind of, this is like enveloping some kind of air, molecules, fluid, call whatever you want. And then when they completely eject, you can see how react like being in some kind of turbulent field.
Absolutely.
There you can see how it inflate this. I mean,
this is such a good video too that shows you, what happens with the fisheye lens every time. You can see it come by, you see the Earth curve out one way, then you see the Earth curve out the other. That alone should tell people what goes on with, these fisheye lenses and spherical lenses, and see that obviously the Earth is curved the other way, then it curves back.
No, completely. Right. And in fact, I have these.
And if you look into space, you would actually have the Earth, the roundness around it, if you were to actually have even a wider view. So.
Yeah, and let me just show you. I have here. Let me just. I have to compare. Just to compare. Let me just open it very quickly. I know that I have somewhere here. I'm looking the other monitor, but I prepared a few time ago with music from an Argentinian musician that he made a music, a track called Lake in the Sky, which is really something that for me it's what's going on.
Right.
But I use one of the sounding rockets from NASA that reached supposedly it reached 250 kilometers.
Okay.
That is what they say. So this is the official image down here, and of course you can immediately recognize that this is using a lens, fisheye lens.
Oh, I thought we could just see the curve from
No,
100 feet.
no, from
Oh, okay.
6 meters.
Okay.
No. So I take, just the shadows and few elements that you assume that they are straight, like the poles from electricity and things like that. So I start to correct it based on that. So I put it the most straight line that possible, and then as long the rocket start going up, I keep correcting, because the first thing that you need to think about it is that the camera is pointing down, so the horizon line is going to change. It's not going to be anymore in the center only, because you have the camera already not pointing to the horizon.
Right.
So when the rocket starts, go up, it's going to be like a little vibration, a little shake on the camera, things like that. So when start going up, I keep correcting based on, some lines on the environment, and I keep trying to, keep these straight lines from the path or things like that. But the fact is, when it reached the supposedly 200, and this is 250 kilometers, and we can have straight line in the horizon.
Right.
So that is really that is a really
cover
problem.
2,400 kilometers there. That line is saying.
And this is the official camera. Yeah, this is the official camera at the same height. Okay, this is with the correction of the lens, and this is with the lens fisheye lens mode on, if you want to see it that way. But of course, here in the official camera, when you reach the point, necessarily, you have a straight line.
Straight also.
And of course, if this, if we have able that the camera receive more and more light, it's maybe we can see more and more land. But this is the maximum capability of the lens to receive light. That is why you has this limitation, of course.
Where is this exactly? Where is this on the Earth? This area? Do you remember?
It's and I have it pointing on the Google Earth. It's a New Mexico facility that NASA have, where they tested these sounding rockets. You can go there and do the comparison in the Google Earth model or wherever you want. It's called the Foxy rocket, Foxy NASA rocket. They have a few of these, so you can go and test it for yourself. They tell you, and in fact they have like some kind of, for example, maybe it was this one. They have like a variety of these rocket launches, and they have all also with I don't know why Facebook opened that publicity, but all the things that supposedly the satellite did, they also do it by rocket. Like the X-ray vision, the multiple camera visions. They use this sounding rockets instead of using real satellite. Right. But they have a lot of this, even with comparison camera. I'm trying to find one with the comparison camera directly on YouTube. This is one of the I believe it's giving you like the I believe this is the one that I took, but supposedly this reached 250 kilometers up there. This is the part that I showed before. But you have the official from NASA, and they have like 2 cameras, and they put all the data below the actual video, so they show you like a parabolic arch of trajectory, and I think is one of these, and they say you, okay, the apogee is 252 kilometers. But you still have a straight line. I mean, if you correct
they're
the lens.
saying that this thing is going 250 kilometers up and then studying the sun.
So what does Neil deGrasse say about that?
They study a multiple factors, not just the sun, but they study the atmosphere, the microgravity environment, all that kind of things, supposedly. What, Sharon? I didn't hear you.
No, I was wondering what Neil deGrasse says about that, because of course we know what he says about seeing curve from 120,000 feet, that's not possible, which is it goes against basically every article that's ever been written about flat Earth. Of course, says that you can get up in a plane and see it, you can get on your roof and see the curve, but I wonder what he says when you can't see the curve from 250 kilometers.
Yeah, and I don't know, because I don't know him. Yeah. Maybe you can give me the telephone number, and I take a call with him and ask him. But
doesn't he say that you cannot see the curve even from the ISS?
1-888
Is that what he says?
Dirtbag.
Yeah, because they're trying to cover every aspect.
Because I think he would never admit that there's fisheye cameras being used from the ISS. So it's very easy, obviously, to look at the camera footage from Felix Baumgartner and realize that is not the curvature of the Earth that you would ever see from 128,000 feet. So it's very easy for him to come out and say, no, you don't see that from this distance. But if you asked him whether or not you'd see curvature from 250 kilometers, he would, of course, have to say yes, especially if you asked 250 miles, which is where the ISS is.
Right.
But again,
and the other thing,
go ahead.
The other thing about that also, Jaron, is like, if you think about it, even if he did admit it, that they were using fisheye lenses, you have to ask yourself, why would anybody ever need to use a fisheye lens? Because the field of view from 250 miles is, 10 to the order of ridiculous anyway, right?
Yeah, it should be plenty.
Exactly.
Do we really need...
I mean, put 2 cameras. Put one.
There you go.
Which was, there you go. Two cameras
next
man.
to each other, yeah.
Nothing more than that. It's something nice. But for example, some people get confused because I didn't correct this camera, and you can see that like a perceptible curve, but it's not a curve, it's a circle. It's a circle because circle, because all the images that use a concave lens, a convex lens, it's going to have this particular way of presenting the image,
which actually includes your eye as well.
Exactly. At the maximum reach in terms of the angular resolution is going to render you a circular image. Absolutely. So this is not a curve. This is just the orientation of the rocket that they are spinning and the way that the camera and the lenses behave in relation with the light that receive. But this is not a curve. This is just the circular way of presenting the image, the resulting image. So we have.
I think people they get confused. I mean, they should realize that those curves, supposed curves, as Jeremy was pointing out, they're always changing according to where it's positioned in relationship to the lens and the center of the lens, and so on and so forth. So, it's just part of how it works. We've been insisting on that point. I mean, people have been making that point for a long time, and I think we have to keep making it because to break the spell.
Right. That's one of the hardest things about what we do is that we'd love to just present a video like I've done in the past and say, okay, that video's up and that's great, and then I assume everyone that's watching every other one of my videos has seen all those, right? Mm-hmm. But that's just not the case. So constantly we have to bring things up again. I feel like I'm repeating things all the time, but then sometimes you have to realize that there's not even people who can afford, or at least with time, to watch this show, to watch Glowbusters, to watch my other live streams, to watch Raw. So you do have to repeat those things sometimes. I mean, how many people have listened to everything that Rodrigo's put out? Be very, very few. So the fact that he has to repeat it is it's part of the game.
Yeah. Supposedly this is the official video from the Terrier Black in 2012, and this is one of the Foxy Rocket style.
Right.
And down here you have all the supposedly data that it came from the rocket. Of course, they can draw whatever they want, but they telling us that right now the rockets start going in inertia mode because you don't have more, power to
propel it further.
Propel yourself. So right now it's keep going up and keep going up and keep going up. And if you start to compare the size of the clouds at this point, and then at the supposedly 280 kilometers, it's almost the same because you're gonna have a factor.
Unfolds.
It's like the same kind of size because you have the factor of the lens camera that you're going to reduce a little bit the original size in terms of the design. You cannot, because you have this type of lenses, you are not going to have, real comparison.
So they basically doubled or so the altitude. They're giving you just a fake number there for the altitude, it seems.
Supposedly that was real. This could even hit the ISS, man. I mean,
watch out.
Be careful, because we have a lawyer that can, put you in trouble right now. But, this rocket reached the 300 kilometers, and you cannot see no satellite, no debris, it's nothing. You just see black and cloud, and so you need to believe this data. But this data contradict your model, because if I correct the lens right now, you're going to have 300 kilometers with a straight line in the horizon.
Right.
So, and what happened right now? Is it microgravity? Is it in superfluid state? What happened to the rocket right now?
Did you look at how far you can see here in this view in terms of what the geography shows? The different features, the river to the coast or something. I don't know if that's.
I didn't do it in this case. This video, no. But will be nice to do it because they give you the starting point where they launch, the position when they launch, where they launch this rocket, so you can go and see from Google Earth. And now and always happen the same. Always happen the same. Look at this.
The lens looks so distorted. It's almost like somebody's fiddling with it.
That's what it is, and then it unfolds itself.
Yeah, it's not just a GoPro. But what I'm trying to point it out is, supposedly right now we have 300 kilometers up there, and I'm going to go really forward and look the data or the tiny point falling down, and supposedly right now what is microgravity, because the rocket doesn't even move, and when the rocket enter into the karma line or in contact with the standard atmosphere pressure, where starts spinning all over the place and.
And why doesn't it burn up in the atmosphere?
I don't know.
that's just
maybe
for
doesn't have
special
the speed. Stuff. No, maybe you need to enter into like
from
20 million kilometers per hour to burn.
Well, that's how they claim that. Which one was the shuttle that exploded coming back in? Because I saw that live as well, and it showed it was a Columbia Discovery. Columbia, right? And they exploded that one. It was kind of like a Challenger 2.0, but it was, it basically turned into nothing in the air, almost like just poof, like fireworks.
Yeah, no, that one supposedly split up, and then people found pieces everywhere. And didn't it happen to be right above? Yeah, right. I think they found pieces in Texas, right?
Yeah, they were trying to tell people don't touch it because it was a biological hazard.
Right.
Got all those space herpes on it.
Right. Watch out. I don't want you guys getting sick. Oh boy.
Really pathetic stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of confusion they've caused with simple camera tricks and what happens with our eyes and how you can really get people to think that they're seeing curve everywhere.
Right, and a lot of people just really fell for that idea that if the Earth is not a ball, and that the sun should always be visible and so on, that you could see, you know.
Well, why can't I see the Himalayas from California if the Earth is flat? As if that makes any sense at all. I mean, obviously, I don't know.
It's just it's almost like everything is in a vacuum for them.
No, and the example is why cannot see Spain from New York?
We know now.
It's Portugal now, because Portugal is in the front.
Right.
The bad part is when you give them the angular size resolution argument, say, well, when things move away from you, they get smaller and smaller and smaller. Then you can't see it anymore. Then, of course, the obvious rebuttal would be, well, then how come I can see the ISS? And it's like, oh, geez, there we go. Now we got to explain this one, right?
Why can I see stars? Again, it's because we can look out at the horizon over the ocean, which is 3-4 miles away for a 6-foot observer, and that's as far as we can see. And then they just say, well, tilt your telescope up a little bit at night, and all of a sudden you can see multiple trillions of miles.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you guys heard Mick West the other day. Mick West was on some show. I don't remember. Was it like the 24/7 Discord chat? Did you hear it, Bob?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
No. What happened?
He just. I didn't catch much of it. I heard him a little bit, but it's just some of the things he says make no sense. I think I recorded part of it. I don't know if this will come out very well, but
some of those doesn't have
I'm
any
just
sense.
making an observation. You're the one who's coming along and having to map and model it.
So what we're listening to is they're talking about how far you can see, whether or not you can see things when they're close to the deck. So, Eru, listen to this and think about the fact of what we talked about when it comes to the brick, right?
Okay.
And moving away from you, and how we know, we could think about Mitchell from Australia's video showing the coin on top of the table. So we know that things can disappear from the bottom up, and we know that things disappear whether or not you can draw a straight line from your eye to the object. So listen to what Mick West says here.
Apply a model to it.
What I'm saying is that your observation is wrong.
Well, my eyes and the camera are wrong, so you are declaring that this can only happen over a curved surface.
Obviously, what you see is what you see. But your interpretation
over a curved surface.
It
can only happen over a curved surface. Even though I can probably go away and give you another 30 demonstrations, which you will just hand wave away and claim there's an R value in the surface of the floor, even if it's a supermarket floor or an ice rink.
It could be an inclined surface with an angle in it. It doesn't have to be curved as such. But yeah, a flat surface inside a building, anything like less than, say, 100 feet, then you would always be able to see the floor from any position above the floor. Because there's a line of sight from your eye to that point. If you can draw a line from something, from your eye to something, then you can see that thing.
So you just said on a flat surface, if you can draw a line from your eye to that thing, then you can see that thing, which all you have to do is go to Mitchell from Australia's video and disprove that right away. That he moves the coin away, we can draw a straight line from the camera lens to that coin. However, the coin cannot be seen. So it's completely, he's just making things up.
Yeah,
just,
man.
He's not the only one that said that either, Jaron. I don't know if you guys saw this morning, but this morning, believe it or not, on the GlobeLie Euro Tour, you're never going to believe who actually showed up and went on camera. None other than Sly Sparkane, right?
No.
Yeah. And he's about as stupid looking as he sounds. I'll say that. But he's on there arguing utter nonsense, saying stuff like, it's never been shown ever on a flat surface that objects can disappear from the bottom from the bottom up. All of the stuff he goes, and it's never been shown that you can see objects beyond, their supposed curvature drop, right? He's actually saying this stuff, which is so over the top. It's absolutely beyond belief. And of course, the one thing that he said, which of course really torques me off, especially since, I just saw somebody make that same stupid, dumbass argument in the chat earlier. And if you'll permit me a couple minutes, I want to take a couple minutes to kind of go through that. And that is, he said, well, and we know that the Earth rotates because Bob Nodell proved it, right? Bob Nodell proved the rotation of the Earth. And it's like, oh my God. So, I mean, all this was utter nonsense, but I wonder.
But Bob, real quick, that's all that they need is they need me saying interesting and they need you saying 15 degrees an hour, and that's their proof. That's their evidence.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that somebody says something. So if it just so happens that, Einstein never said that, or else they would go to that. But Einstein clearly said that the movement of Earth cannot be detected by any experiment. But Bob comes along and says it, and then they've all got to jump on that as that's some sort of proof.
That's right. And what about Michelson-Gale? Why didn't science jump on it over 100 years ago? And Michelson-Gale said they detected the 15 degrees per hour rotation, right?
The question is, why are you not in Sweden right now receiving your prize?
Hey, that's what I'd like to know for sure, especially since I was at that time I hadn't even laid hands on the fiber optic gyro yet. That's the crazy
It's even
part.
more amazing. That's even more amazing. That's why you deserve the prize.
It is. So I try and do this occasionally, and like Jaron said, sometimes.
Sorry, Bob.
What is
you want to
this?
stop my screen sharing?
Okay.
You can keep showing your screen sharing.
Ido, that was crazy. Whatever it is, you should show that later after Bob is done.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I just want to explain this again because like Jaron said, sometimes you have to say things a few times because not everybody gets it. And even though we've said this ad nauseum on Globebusters and I've talked about it, on other people's shows, I'm going to say it again here today, and addressing directly the statement that I made in Behind the Curve, where I said we detected a 15 degree per hour rotation. The fact is, we did. It's there. It shows up on the fiber optic gyro. It is not an experiment. It is an observation. Well, obviously that, on face value would tend to raise problems, for the flat Earth model. So yes, we tried to, figure out what was causing it, and then of course at some point I figured out that, geez, this is exactly what Michelson-Gale detected, over 100 years ago. And the reason that science did not at that time go to that as their absolute proof of rotation is because of Michelson-Morley. And because then, they would have to explain why Michelson-Morley, using the exact same laser interferometry type of methodology, did not detect a 67,000 mile an hour forward velocity around the sun. And they should have, especially since it would have been much farther in the detection threshold of the laser interferometer, or the interferometer at the time. I don't know if they had lasers, but they could do interferometry with pure light sources. Okay, so all that aside, so we figured out exactly how to do this, and this suggestion came from my friend, the PhD electrical engineer, and a million other letters behind his name. He wrote to me, he said, Bob, it's extremely simple. All you have to do is take those same measurements on the same latitude line at different elevations. Okay, great. Well, what did he mean by that? All right, here's what he meant by that, is that on a globe, guys, and this is important, on a globe, if you are at any specific latitude line, and it doesn't matter which one you're at, if you take a reading, say, at sea level, okay, and you get whatever the commensurate rotation rate would be for that specific latitude, which is 15 degrees per hour times the sine of the latitude, should give you the rotation rate expected per hour at that latitude. Okay, great. So then if you go anywhere else on that latitude line, that reading should never, ever, ever, ever change on a globe, because it's a globe, right? It's going around in circles, doesn't matter. Conversely, the same thing would apply is if you were on the same latitude line and you changed elevations. Again, it shouldn't matter because you're on the same latitude line, and that rotation rate would never, ever, ever, ever be expected to change on that latitude line. Well, so here's the experiment that we did. And we did this on multiple places, multiple times, multiple places in Colorado, because Colorado is the most conducive for the best environment for being able to do this. So what we did, and I'll just give you the results of one of them, is we went up to the top of Pikes Peak, Colorado, which is at an elevation of 14,125 feet. Okay, and we took our readings. We got our rotation measurement. I don't remember exactly what it was for this latitude. Doesn't matter. And then we took that same fiber optic gyro under the same conditions, same temperature, whole 9 yards, within the manufacturer's specifications, and we went out east to the plains of Colorado, directly east of Pikes Peak, on precisely the same latitude line, right down to the 100th of a degree, right on the gnat's ass. And what we got over a 1 degree variance of rotation on the same latitude line. Now, guys, this in and of itself utterly destroys the claim that it is the Earth rotation that we were measuring. And of course, when I said that in Behind the Curve, I never said we were measuring Earth rotation. I simply said we were measuring a rotation. We have claimed all along that this is the ether rotation, and now this would tend to prove that. Now, why does it prove that? Well, here's why. Because scientists have known for a long, long time that, not only have they known of the existence of the ether, but they have also known pretty much the nature of it in the fact that it is spiraling very much like a toroidal field, just like a magnetic field, because they're, essentially one and the same and very much related. So if you think about a toroid that is spinning, think of a tornado, for example, on the centripetal line of force. Think of a tornado, and what's happening as at the top of the tornado, it's spinning slower, and as it gets closer and closer to the ground, it spins faster and faster and faster. Well, this is essentially exactly what the ether is doing, okay? And the fact that we, in a mere 10,000-foot difference, guys, a mere 10,000-foot difference, we picked up a rotational difference of over 1 degree. That is, in my mind, if not conclusive proof, but very, very, very strong evidence that it is in fact, this ether that Einstein wanted to dismiss mathematically, that not only does it exist, but it appears to have exactly the precise characteristics that the scientists, all the great scientists of old, before the idiot Einstein came along, said that it had. And by the way, I will also mention that there's a video out by Greg Braden where the United States Air Force redid the Michelson-Morley experiment in the mid-'80s, and they determined that, hey, guess what? There is an ether. And in fact, we know that because without the ether, the Sagnac effect would be flat out impossible. Okay, but yet
where's that? Where'd you get that?
Oh, I've got it. I'll link it to you. I wanted to play it on the show, but I actually put it in the live feed, and it's one of those things that got blocked for copyright because of media. But I'll link it to you. But suffice it to say, and I will put it in the show notes when I discuss it on Globebusters. But suffice it to say, so it was redone by the Air Force, and I have all the technical documents of that, and they absolutely reached the same conclusion. The ether exists. It's real. It has the rotational properties, the whole 9 yards. So again, when I said that, I was not lying, and I'm not about to lie about results that, are observation, even if it does not make us look good. But fortunately, the redeeming quality is experimentally we were able to prove that it was not Earth rotation and in fact something else. So frankly, I get a little bit tired of people, going back to that horse shit, and blaming me and saying, oh yeah, this guy did this. It's like, yeah, I did do that. I said that. I stand by it. And I also stand by the results that we have obtained that effectively debunk it.
So Bob, what you're saying too is that at whether it's 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 150,000 feet, or 250 miles, that you would expect the same results from the fiber optic gyro, right? You would expect 15 degrees an hour as long as you're on the same latitude line.
On a ball, yes.
On a ball, right. Exactly.
Yes.
Okay. But when we go up and we're just changing our altitude by, say, only 10,000 feet and we're getting a 1 degree or more of variance in the spin, then we can then from there say that it's the ether.
Right. And even if you don't want to call it the ether, the one thing that it absolutely proves is that it's not the Earth rotation, because on Earth, you cannot have at different elevations different rotational rates on the same latitude line. Sorry, that just doesn't work.
Right.
Right. So that's more importantly the conclusion. Whether or not you wanted to buy into the ether or not, that fiber optic gyro is measuring something, guys, and it is an extremely expensive and high precision piece of test equipment. And so, FE Core, we sought out to find out exactly what it was. And we found out experimentally, and we repeated it. It is repeatable, and there's just no doubt about it. And anybody that does this can actually do the same thing.
Bob, I'm really curious as to if you took measurements in other locations or observations with the gyro in many other locations and over extended periods of time to see if there's a change in this rate in any way, shape or form. We know, for instance, that we were talking about the Elias effect, and that was very interesting. Also, we know that Ptolemy used epicycles to talk about some of the retrograde motions of stars, and people in the heliocentric model, they believe that the way they visualize it explains these retrograde motions instead of the epicycles from Ptolemy. So if you're running these measurements and the ether is spinning, and there are all these other things in there as well. We know the planets are doing something. Astrologers believe that they're, and the stars being closer to us, they may be having even stronger effects. So how would that affect, this gyro? I don't know if that's the best thing to measure, but, I wonder at least if this gyro wouldn't act different during an eclipse like what we saw with the Elias effect.
It is entirely possible, Rodrigo, and that's something that, obviously we are going to test and would love to test, because, this opens up a whole new, area of investigation that, frankly, mainstream has not pursued, because mainstream has been told that the ether does not exist. And, like I said, science for years, centuries, knew that it absolutely did. And, common sense tells you that it does. In fact, what science calls it now, what science calls the ether now, even though a lot of science does call it the ether, is they call it the quantum field.
Boson Higgs.
Yeah, or the Higgs field. I mean, this is exactly what they're calling it now, and it's the same flippin' thing, So, and the reason is common sense tells you that, look, if you're broadcasting a radio wave, it's not propagating through the air like sound does. It has to be propagating through a medium, and radio waves will propagate, and so will light, through a vacuum. So what is it that they're propagating through? No matter what model you subscribe to as to how electromagnetic waves behave, whether it's the rate of induction, like theory hypothesis says, or whether or not it's actually photons or waves traveling through free space, whatever, there must be a medium that these EM waves are traveling through. And that medium, like I said, has been known for centuries. It has always been called the ether, but now, in order to remain in accordance with Einstein and his idiocy, they now call it the quantum field or the Higgs field.
Yeah, and the woman that was with Wakey Wake, when he first mentioned Michelson-Morley, she's like, "Oh yeah, that's the ether. They proved that there's no ether." Immediately, she already had.
No, but that is because they assume the motion of the Earth.
Right.
Right. No. I know, but she had been already programmed with this, response immediately. Whenever she heard Michelson-Morley, she immediately says, "Oh yeah, they just proved the ether," without even getting into it.
It's like the double speaking about, and I show you, I show in the document. I believe, Bob, you are talking about this document about the Silverfoot and C.K. Whitney. This was the document that they present in the Nature magazine.
That is correct. Yes.
Yeah, so there you have all the document here. But, it's like the double think about the Eratosthenes experiment. With the Michelson-Morley, they assumed that the Earth was moving around the sun. So it's like, like a leaf moving with the currents of the river. So that is the first premises that you take into consideration, which is not valid, because the Earth is still, and the ether is inside our Earth. It's not outside and the Earth moving around the sun. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
No, absolutely.
So
we got
if you assume that the Earth is static and the ether is inside because the Earth is a closed system, everything works perfectly. In fact, Mach, I have the document from his book. Mach talks about that the motion of the stars above us produce the drift of 15 degrees per hour.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that too.
So,
I got a super chat from Spock 23.0 So thank you very much for that. I don't think he left a message. And then JQ, David just sent me a Venmo for $51 saying anything less than 51 is just sad. So he outdid you by $1. So thank you, David. And thank you, JQ. I'll take the over. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Isn't it curious that you get attacked for this stupid point from behind the curve, which is absolutely ridiculous, and then you go out and you start checking for science, and you find exactly what you're saying being corroborated all over the place.
Exactly, it's crazy. And I'll give you guys a little spoiler alert. Also, the Globers have also been on this big thing about gyro compasses. Okay. They're saying, well, because of the fact that gyro compasses automatically find true north, and they do it because it is working off of the rotation of the Earth. Well, I got news for you guys. FE Core just bought a gyro compass, and yes, they are freaking pricey and expensive, but we have one, and we have already come to the conclusion that the way it is finding true north is not because of Earth rotation, and that's coming to a video to you soon. I'm not going to go into any further than that, but I'm sorry, but we're going to shatter the Globers again because that claim is nonsense.
Yeah, completely, man.
What else were you showing here, Iro? I still have your screen up. I don't know if you knew that.
I knew that. That is why I was trying to search what Bob was talking about. No, this was the document that Bob referred, and the first time that I saw it or I listened about it was in a talk from this guy, which is a really known guy. I cannot remember.
Braden. Yep.
Exactly, and he presented and he talks about that the Michelson-Morley experiment was really bad interpreted on purpose at that time. And he talks about, let me just put the audio. It's just a 1 minute audio. I don't know if you want to hear it about it, but if not, well, I am controlling everything now.
Too bad.
So here we go.
Iro, I wouldn't play it because, like I said, that will get a copyright claim, and we don't really want to get this.
Okay.
No. We can put it in the show link, and yes. So yeah, Greg talks about it. And actually, there's even a later video, which you may not have. I will link that one to you, Iro, as well, where he goes into more depth about it. And he explains that the ether is now being called the Higgs field.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Yeah, they have all kinds of keywords and signs and ways of hiding information with other supposed information that they label in a way that's misleading, right? Isn't that like part of their method as well?
Absolutely.
JQ just sent a $51 super chat. Thank you so much, JQ. Says, F you, Dave.
Hey, man, send me something for Patreon, man.
Yeah, I'll have to add some to Iro. It was nice when I used to be able to send you PayPal every once in a while, Iro. I can't do that anymore. Stupid.
No, but thank you for the $10 plus in Patreon, man. Thank you, Bob. I tell you before, but thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Jaron, send it to me via Venmo, and I'll send it to him via PayPal.
That works.
There you go.
Okay, good.
We'll get around.
No, it's okay.
We'll figure it out.
But I really and something that I showed before was like I just take this video from the NASA. Contractors, outside contractors. Let me just close this. It was this video that I was showing before. It's just the NASA talking about the sounding rocket and how they start working together with up aerospace, and they just started to test some shield for enter the atmosphere. I supposedly they figured it out like 60 years before, but they keep performing this kind of re-entry to the atmosphere.
They still study this stuff even though they mastered it in 69, right?
Exactly, but they still studying. And first of all, they show, of course, this is not to scale, but they show like okay, this is the camera at the ground. And this is the rocket, and of course, like everybody knows, when you start going up, the horizon line needs, start to getting down. But that is something that we are not seeing in real life. But they take this video, this part of the video, which is real video. Let me just go a little forward here. And they show the horizon, right now, of course, with the fisheye lens. And I corrected very quickly using a preset that Adobe Premiere brings with the software. And if you just type here GoPro, that you're gonna have a lot of preset. And I just put the Hero 3 Black. You can use whatever you want. Of course, I don't know which camera they use right now, but when you immediately put a preset to correct the lens, you're gonna have at 100 kilometers a straight line. From you're gonna have a straight line. I mean,
yeah, what a surprise!
Imagine that.
What a surprise, man! So I just did that very quickly and you also have all these turbulence field.
What is that stuff?
That could be ice particles that maybe the rocket and dirt inside of the rocket. A lot of could be a bunch of.
What is the altitude it's supposed to be here?
100 kilometers.
100.
Yes, because they need to test the re-entry to the atmosphere, and of course they show these CGI graphics.
It's very hot there at 0 Kelvin. It's very hot.
It's supposedly, yeah, and I don't know. I don't understand that kind of, they don't put the thermometers, the re-entry logic, because we don't have any evidence that supposedly right now is hot. I mean, if this will be ice particles and you have this turbulent field, so you have molecules that create friction and transmit heat, this will be immediately evaporized at 260 Celsius degrees. I mean,
do they say that altitude is not yet at what they call the thermosphere, right? They had the crazy temperatures.
Yeah, supposedly no, but
it's still higher up from this.
But you have the straight line, man. So
yeah, that straight line ironically occurs at right at 100 kilometers too. And then it goes straight for a long ways, and then it spikes. So there's something really strange going on right around that 100-kilometer mark,
And how it also relates to the sprites, right? Because
exactly, they peak out at 100 kilometers also. They flatten out just like they're hitting something. And again, basic electrical theory: when you have a discharge, that means there must be a charge potential. And so what's happening is the sprites are discharging upwards, and they're not continuing like they would on the ground. They're literally flattening out like they're hitting something up there. And to me, that speaks freaking volumes,
Do you think the sprites are coming up from the clouds? What's the relationship? Because we know that the sprites are red and the clouds are blue. No. I mean, I'm just trying to understand what Bob is saying, because when you look at it, it seems like the sprites are connecting down to the clouds, and that the sprites are red and the clouds are blue.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be clouds either, Rodrigo. It can be
the lightning storm. Yeah.
Yeah, there could be friction error. They claim that lightning, of course, and I don't doubt this, is largely caused by air friction. Causing this static charge potential, just like rubbing a balloon on your hair, right? Except in this particular case, that charge potential and difference of potential occurs much closer to whatever it is at the top side that is a charged plate, if you will. And of course, I've said, I think it's a firmament. And so what's happening is then it discharges up, because that is the so-called path of least resistance. Now, in the clouds, when we're seeing it down here, obviously it's much closer, to go from the clouds down to the ground than to have these discharges all the way up to this 100-kilometer, whatever it is, thing up there, right?
Yeah, and supposedly, look at this chart, supposedly from 80 kilometers to 700 from...
It's already it. Oh, it's supposed to be hot.
Yeah, supposedly this could be maybe at 500 degrees, 700 degrees, I don't know, because it's reached the 120 kilometers, and we don't have that scale inside here. But I mean... Right.
Yeah, but that other rocket that had the temperature gauge, that was showing almost 0 Kelvin, right?
Yeah, why nobody sent like a sounding rocket or atmospheric balloon to the Aurora Borealis with a thermometer?
That's because Don Pettit was walking on them. He all walked the beauty, the seas of.
Okay.
Almost got blinded by it.
Okay. Sorry, man. Sorry. I didn't know it. But it's a really nice. It's kind of mysterious thing up there, but really easy to check. Because we have the technology to reach 120 and 200 kilometers. But, of course, those technology belong to this kind of governmental institution.
You cannot get any close to the North Pole to really check it out, right?
Yeah, and if you want to go up, you don't have the fuel. You cannot buy the fuel. It's like trying to get plutonium to build a bomb.
Right.
You have the blueprint, but you don't have you cannot buy the components.
This is, by the way, turning into my best live stream ever because David just sent me a Venmo for $52 saying you don't want to play this game with me. I'm gonna start making up Venmo payments just to see if JQ tries to match it. But no, thank you very much.
We have an auction. You're having an auction.
Exactly. It's who gets to own Iru for the next week. Is whoever.
Yes, man. I can live like an year with those up to.
But yeah, hey, while I'm thinking about it, Rodrigo, in the chat, send me your PayPal address, and I'll send Venmo to Bob so that he can divvy out you guys some. I'd like to share the wealth. So.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And please bring the dice to Dallas. So
I'm bringing the dice.
Anyone, bring the dice to make those synchronicity work. Man.
Yeah. So hopefully people know what we're talking about there. We've talked about it a few times, but when we were in Vegas, Iru and I played the synchronicity game, which is just letting the dice take you where it will, and we're going to do that again in Dallas. So if you're there, join us. Should be fun. We're going to start out at Daily Plaza on the X and go from there.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah? You want to join us, Bob? You're in.
Sure.
I'm not sure what day we're doing that yet, but Saturday probably.
Could be, it's a nice way to, pick a tool.
Yeah,
but with any bias, from the standard tourist rules.
What day do you leave, Iru? Are you there for Saturday or?
Yeah, gonna be on Dallas from 13 to 16.
13, 16. You leave on Saturday. I don't know. We'll have to figure out a time to do it. I don't know when. Maybe we could do it. I don't know. We'll look at it. We'll see our.
Well, we can do it. We can do it also at night.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Because I believe it's gonna be like a safety city. Maybe you receive a shot in the head, but who knows, man?
I don't think it's possible. Not from from the sixth floor of the observatory.
No way. No.
No. So Anyway, but appreciate everybody so much for all the support, the super chats. You guys are awesome. So. Thank you very much for that. And Iru and Rodrigo, thank you as well. And Bob.
You're welcome.
A pleasure. I'm going to stop to sharing right now.
All right. Oh, Jesus Christ. What is this?
Another one. Okay.
I just got a Venmo payment from JQ for $500.
No way.
That says, try me, Dave.
Well,
I'm not lying. I'm being completely honest.
The sounding rocket, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we can't afford it. Wow, I'm like in shock right
maybe,
now.
Man.
I'm in just disbelief right now. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to... I'm waiting for it to say this has been retracted or something.
Right? Wow. Daryl Davis just sent you another $49.99. Holy cow! You guys out there are amazing.
You guys are
support.
Awesome. I can't even begin to tell you what this feels like, but it's just JQ. Thank you so much, and I will pass them along, of course, to everyone here since they're with me as well. But even you, Bob, if you want some. Although I have to tell people, Bob has never asked for anything. Which is just amazing and unheard of that he does all this for the love of it. So thank you, Bob.
You're very welcome.
So I don't know if very
I
many
love
people
flat
know that,
Earth, man.
There you
go.
go.
Can I say?
Oh, did you stop sharing, Iru? Sorry,
I stopped sharing. Supposedly, yes.
Supposedly, yes. And
supposedly, yes.
Bring it back on here. Share screen just so you guys can see what I'm doing. There we go. Yeah, Daryl Davis, thank you very much. Can't wait till Dallas. It's going to be awesome. There's a lot of people coming. There's going to be some surprises along the line that I've just heard about this week that are going to be amazing. That I can't really comment on, but if you're there or you're watching live or you've got the live stream or check out my channel, like I said, I'll be going live numerous times, as will a lot of us. So just keep an eye on a lot of your channels. Make sure you have notifications on. But we'll be having a lot of fun, and if you want to stream the whole thing, you can go to fe2019.com and purchase the live streaming. I think is $40, and they're going to have both stages, so you'll be able to choose either the main stage or the sub stage, and basically watch it all. But if you don't have enough money to do that, you don't have the $40, just wait a little bit, because everything that everybody does will be uploaded in some fashion or another. You'll be able to catch it if you can't go. And if you do go, you're just getting to hang out with us, and it's going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to it. Can't believe we're, less than a week away. Jeez.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah, for me, it starts on Monday.
I made a kind of list of all the convergences because I'm having tomorrow. I'm probably gonna make. God, I forgot to share this on the Brazilian page that I have access, but. Because I could have shared this. People watch some of the stuff in English, but there's just so many things happen, and I try to kind of keep track of some of them. In the last year, we've been talking about it, but just in the last few months, all these things are converging right now. Right, November we have tomorrow is the Brazilian conference, or the day after tomorrow. Today, here is already Saturday. But I'm going to make a live for the Brazilian people right before, the conference on the Saturday. And, all these things that happened. Amsterdam was a catalyst in a way to bring us here, the lounge, the Friday lounge, right? And we kind of trying to integrate these different things that are happening all in different parts of the world. Iru in South America. I'm talking with the Brazilian people here. There's Europe as well. It was one of the, it's been a while since Jaron had been in Europe. So that was happening at the same time that David Weiss is, tackling InfoWars, and Eddie Bravo and Owen Benjamin and countless other people at the same time. There's a whole thing happening with FE Core, which is a whole other side of it that Bob is really involved. So the coming of the app, activism to get around censorship, flat Earth literature is on the rise. There's people writing books. People also the guy that you got the book from, he's been contacting me. He wants to talk to us maybe some other day. That novel, I didn't get a chance to read it. But that's on the rise as well.
Which one? The Elusive Curve? The Elusive Curve you're talking about by Billy
No, the
Zig?
Journey, the Voyage one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, The Journey. You mean Douglas Falk's book?
Douglas.
Yeah.
Douglas. Yes, he wants to. He asked me if he could come in and talk to us here in the lounge, and I said probably sure, but I really would like to read the book so I can do a good job in talking about it.
Yeah, me as well. And I don't think, if I remember right, I don't think his book is available yet on Amazon. I think it's available for pre-order, and I think I tried telling him that it would be best for him to come on the show when the book is available. And the only reason I say that is because if I'm watching a video and somebody says, "Oh, I've got a book that you have to pre-order," chances are I'm not going to go and pick it up. I'm not going to go to Amazon and pre-order a book or whatever. I just got a Venmo.
Yeah, of course.
I got a Venmo from David for $5.
You've had it for a while. Sorry.
I said I got a Venmo for David for $5, who says he's calling reset. So at least it's finally over. Thank you guys.
A bit too far for David.
Yeah, he just made David.
That's okay. David is going.
We love you, David.
Yes,
more than make up for it. Come Dallas, and that's all I can say about that, Jaron. But I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
I do, and people will just have to wait and see. But all kinds of fun things coming, and David is truly the man with the plan. I don't know. We got to come up with a nickname for JQ, maybe the man with the $500. But David is just David is the man with the plan, and when he's got something he wants to do, it just gets done. And that's why anybody who's ever, and there's people out there that have called David a shill, called him this or that, and those people
in the best moment of his life, man. We need to play. I'm going to give a hug. I'm going to give a hug and playing the Green Day song, the best moment of your life.
Right.
Dedicated to him.
And there's still more coming. There's still more to come. So, yeah, if you're going to the conference, you're going to get a chance to see that when Dave wants something done, it gets done, and in like big-time fashion.
he does not mess around, because what David has come up with and has, got in the works, I mean, it's a done deal, is absolutely freaking epic.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
So this is a surprise that we're not talking about. You're not talking about. And,
we are sworn to secrecy, but man, awesome. Is it epic.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just more work from David. Just, something comes into his head and he says, I think we should do this. I think we should do that. And I'm even on the other line usually talking to him saying, well, I don't know if you'll be able to do that. Or I'm like such a down player. I'm just always like, I don't know. And then before you know it, it's just done. And I'm like, what? You were able to do that? That's fantastic.
Wow.
So it's just, I can't even explain.
How you do it?
Yeah, how do you do that?
Well, it's just a Jew, and maybe he has.
I know, that's
contact,
the thing I always think about, though. Maybe it's the connections. It might be that he just knows he just knows people in the right places, I guess. So, or with
David is the most atypical Jew I have ever known in my life. He
Absolutely.
He is completely opposite of the stereotypical. 180 degrees. He's awesome.
No, he's fantastic. And so, yeah, it's just going to be a great time. And so I can't wait for, Globebusters this Sunday will be fun, but definitely get into the conference and all the things planned, and to hear Owen Benjamin. I could see traveling somewhere to hear an Owen Benjamin comedy show. So to me, it's like just added. We're going to the conference. Speaking at the conference, we're going to get to see everybody again. And on top of that, we get a comedy show. On top of that, we get a couple other surprises. Really just going to be an amazing time. Can't say much about it.
And I was wanting to do so many things and look at so many videos, but one of the things I wanted to do lately and didn't have time to do it, and maybe we can do it some other time when we come back together, is take a look actually at the recent activities of David, because there's so many great moments from the tinfoil hat and some of the things that he has done that we can if each of us selects 2 or 3 clips that we think are really interesting to talk about, to show some of that work that he's doing. I think that would be great.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. No, and right now on the screen, people are seeing Mitchell from Australia's video. I know I haven't been talking behind it, just showing you. But again, you can draw a line from this camera lens to, let me put it over here so you can see what I'm talking about. You can draw a line from this camera lens to the bottom and to the top of this coin. And yet in the picture, you can see what happens, that the item is disappearing from bottom up, even though there's a line drawn straight to it. And again, we can just play Mick West, and here it is, him talking.
Be able to see the floor from any position above the floor, because there's a line of sight from your eye to that point. If you can draw a line from something, from your eye to something, then you can see that thing.
So, that right there is just complete
don't forget, Slime Sparkane said the same thing. There's never been any demonstration.
How do these guys explain vanishing point and like just basic
they have to ignore it. Yeah, they have to ignore it. They can't.
Vanishing point doesn't exist.
And here's the thing:
pretty much what they're saying.
How much further?
So they can see infinitely. Sorry, Jaron, what you're saying?
No, I was just saying, how much further along would we all be if at least you had Globers admitting that there was issues with the globe? Right, and just we all explore them together, and we talk about, it is true that when you pull something away because of the deck and the reduced angle, that you're not able to see items that are far away from your eye. But then you've just got people like Mick West that will just repeat nonsense and just say, oh no, if you can draw a line between your eye and anything, you can see that thing, which is just ridiculous, especially when you're talking about far distances. And then when you get into the fact of things that are close by you, say waves in the water or anything like that, can also,
or a coin on a table,
right? Or a coin on a table. You need to go far. Then you can see that. And for anybody who says, because I've heard people saying, "Oh, well, this view here," and I'll show you the view here, that this view is because the camera is below the table, which is just not true, because he zooms in. And if you can zoom in and see the bottom of the coin, which he can, then that clearly tells you that this lens is at the very least completely equal to the level table, or at least a little above it. Regardless, when you pull that coin away, because of lots of issues, angular resolution, refraction, or more the Rayleigh criteria, diffraction limit, stuff like that, that you're able to lose the bottom of this coin. So for anybody who just says that things don't disappear from the bottom up, That if it's a flat, level plane, that any two distances apart. And if that is true, then when we are seeing mirror flashes, or when we're seeing buildings, or when we're seeing things that are much further than the hump allows, then they need to recognize that you're, okay, well, how come we have line of sight to something that is behind a hump? And they won't explain that either, other than to say, oh, well, in that case, these things are bending with the duct of the atmosphere around the curve.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing they can demonstrate for sure is using the same idea that he did here, is to have a curved surface and then see how things look if they were going down the curve, and see whether or not tall things actually tilting away from the observer, right? I think they should. That's why you looked out at the clouds every day here. It's very, very flat. You can see so far, and the clouds are right at the horizon. They're always flat. They're always straight ahead. It's just perspective what we're seeing. Otherwise, these clouds have to be tilting with the curve, right?
But then we see 120 kilometers and a straight line.
Right.
So
they'll just claim that doesn't happen, according to
exactly. When is the starting point to the horizon going down?
Well, however far you can see, it starts right after that.
Supposedly.
So if you can see 150,
it's always
right after.
Beyond
the
limit.
Yeah. The other problem they have is that how can that photographer from Texas, 500 kilometers away, watch a storm and photograph a sprite that's 100 kilometers high in the sky from 500 kilometers away? How does that work on a ball?
It goes on and on with the rail gun and everything else.
And observation.
Yeah,
they have so many troubles right now that is why normal people like us and everyone that are looking this show is start waking up. It's not because they don't have any trouble or any problem. The only thing that they could do was trying to put in our head like a simulation of the heliocentric model, and we all believed in that because we never tested.
Right. No, we were just told it when you're too young to even think about it, really.
Exactly.
I mean, there's no way in third, fourth grade that you're able to comprehend anything that they're saying. And my only, method of figuring out whether they were telling me the truth or not was to go home and ask mom and dad, because you're told you live on a spinning ball, and you're like, what? That doesn't sound right. And you go home and say, Mom, are we spinning right now? Oh, well, that's what scientists say. I mean, where are you going to go from there if you're in third or fourth grade? That's it. You're done. You don't have the ability to question beyond that.
Yeah, I wonder what I'm gonna have to be teaching. How do you do with your teenager's son, Bob? I know he's just flying with the information, but how was it? Did you tell him, you should always question stuff, and when the stuff you see in school, this is the right answer they want to hear from you, but here's what I think, kind of thing.
That is exactly what I told him. I mean, and he's very cognizant of what I think and also my justification for thinking that, and he doesn't disagree. But when it comes to what's being taught in school, and it's funny because he'll come home and he'll tell me, he goes, "You're not going to believe what they were teaching today in school," and it's like he knows. So he goes along with it. If it's on a test, obviously he will give the answer that they want, even though he knows full well better. Because that's how you have to get along. But yeah, I mean, Jaron is very much awake to what's going on because, he's been subjected to me since birth. So,
and if you want, I can make the last presentation for today in relation with this education problem, if you want.
Let me ask Bob. Bob, is it all right?
Yeah, I'll go along with it.
Okay, Bob will allow it.
Okay, Thank you, Bob. Thank you. No, but just for take the authority to the authority of Miku Kaku.
I'm trying to make the screen go up, and it keeps taking photos. I'm pressing the wrong button.
Is that why those keeps getting sent to me?
Yeah, there's like I thought it looks just like the icon to make it go full screen, but it is like a snapshot thing.
Right.
This one.
I didn't know.
I
thought you were just like having a stroke or something.
Okay, so.
All right, I'm sharing.
This is okay. Let me just here we have it. But what he said here is really what is going on. Let me just play it.
First of all, we are born scientists. When we're born, we wonder what's out there. We begin to wonder about the sun, life, the stars, what makes the oceans, the weather. We're born scientists. And then something happens. When we hit the danger years of junior high school and high school, that's when it's literally crushed out of us.
Those are the worst.
Every little flower of curiosity, said Einstein, is crushed by society itself. Because we have to learn all these facts, figures, memorization. We think that memorization is science. And that's not true at all. My daughter had to take the Regents exam once, and she had to memorize all these facts and figures about minerals, crystals for a geology exam. Nowhere did I see the true driving force of geology, which is continental drift. That's the organizing principle for all of geology. And yet the exam was memorizing all the names, the crystals and the minerals. And then later she comes up to me and says, Daddy, why would anyone want to become a scientist? That was the most humiliating event in my entire life. I felt like taking that book and ripping it apart. Because that exam was crushing curiosity right out of the next generation. And then we wonder, hey, how come people are not more interested in science? Duh.
So, that is exactly. I mean, we all born scientists, not engineering. We don't have a master, a PhD, nothing like that. But then you enter into the UNESCO Agenist system, and immediately you're going to bring all the, when you start asking, for example, with this study that Robert Bassano shows once, like 2 years ago, and I really started research in this, and in every country of the world, the same thing happened, because we have the equivalent, for example, here in Argentina. They, periodically, they make this kind of test and asking to the young people, what do you feel about the universe? And every child out there say the same thing. We are in the center. We are not in the spherical Earth. The day and night cycle is caused by the movement of
the sun. Oh, did you hear a freeze?
Oh, we lost.
Let me check my Skype real quick.
I don't hear him either.
And the, I'm still sharing.
Yeah, we just
something
lost
happened
there.
there.
Dropped out for a second.
You're back.
I'm still sharing, guys.
Right, yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you're good.
He's talking, but we're losing his audio.
But no, what I...
Okay. No, we're losing you here. Iru! We're losing you.
Just a delay.
I don't know. He's just, I think his audio's kind of messed up. We'll give it a second. It's not me. My CPU usage is 6%. That's fine.
Yeah, and we would hear, we're not hearing him either. So
yeah,
I can see his little thing, the circle going.
Here he's coming back.
Try again, Iru. We kept losing you.
Okay.
Now we hear you.
Okay, okay, perfect. And I'm going to reshare the screen right now.
Okay.
How is it now?
So got it. Good.
Now we got you.
Okay. No, I mean, if you take into consideration what Miku Kaku said, and of course, I put it him because it's like not one person out there, but what he talking about is this: everyone born scientist, everyone born with this kind of standard conception about where we are, and immediately the authority came in, put you in jail, which is in this case the educational system that these eugenists prepare, and they put for all together via UNESCO, and immediately they're going to assume that you are misconceptions. You are misconceptions that when you start thinking in terms of the plain Earth with the sun and the moon move about your head and things like that. And every time they make this kind of test much early, so they can, trying to put the software immediately in your head. Now, when you are in the kindergarten, you are obligated to prepare this like a miniature solar system. When you even comprehend how much is 10 centimeters. So, that is the only thing that I want to shared. That is why I say this is my last presentation.
Yeah, that is the
bad one.
That is the paper that Tim Ingold, this anthropologist, talked about years ago, right? Into his book from, I think it's from '98 or 2000. That I talked to him and he told me that he went to this conference where these guys, Wozniacki and Brewer, that we just showed, the authors of that journal were there. And this anthropologist got interested in how they were looking at children drawing this stuff. And apparently they I don't know, it got him intrigued. And that's why this guy wrote all this critique of the globe, but still without making it, it's saying, I'm not a flat earther, la, 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 but then attacks the globe, and which is interesting. But it's all spawned by the work of this Wozniacki and Brewer, because they looked at these children and they realized, it's quite a switch you have to force them for them to think that they're standing on the ball upside down on the other side of the world. But the thing is, what is significant there is that they use this against flat earthers. They would say that you are becoming more like a child, because that child also had to go through what they call a paradigm shift in science, because the child comes up thinking it's flat, but then they have to get the Copernican paradigm shift, and that's very painful, very difficult, and so on, and they have to push that in. But then what they don't understand is that that's a bamboozle, and the child was correct in the first place. And then this is the same way they use to say, indigenous people and people in the past, they're all stupid. They didn't know anything. We found the ball. So it's really, the ball itself it's one of the main symbols of the Western domination. It's imperial expansion as well, because it really says we have science and nobody else does it. Of course, it goes after the whole world. It's not just the West, but it starts with the Jesuits. It starts with the church, and so, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, I always show this kind of slices, and thank you for Hendrik Oliert. He started right now.
How do you send a GIF like that? I never seen.
This is a new feature that YouTube implement, which is like I don't know if GIF card super instead of is super card or something like that. It's like a new feature.
Oh. I haven't seen it yet. All right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And thank you, Hendrik, very much.
You can put your own you can put your own GIF. So if somebody has a GIF of like I don't know, Buzz Aldrin getting hit in the back of the head with a chair or something like that.
Super sticker, and you have like a price already.
Oh.
Standard prices, and you can pick one and send it.
Oh, got you. But you can't upload your own. That would be awesome if you could do that. But
no, I believe not. It's just pre-pressed.
So it's kind of super chat that comes with animation.
Yeah, something like that.
Very cool. Thank you, Hendrik. He's been amazing for as long as I can remember, helping Globebusters out for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iru as well. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, Hendrik is
awesome. Just for close the topic, I mean, we never taught in school about the quadrivium and the trivium and other educational system that are out there when they trying to develop more your common sense, spiritual inside of you, and the logic and everything, in terms of art, music, this kind of thing. We never received something like that. And then you need to read stupid things like the Elon Musk create his own his own
so smart
system.
He's just so smart that whatever school he's giving for his children must be the best school in the world, right?
Yeah, but they put in your face like different educations surrounding a lot of and a halo of mystery and secrecy, and nobody can go there, and with all pyramids and this name, which of course there are all called this name, things like that. So they laugh in our face, but no more. For me, at least, no more.
Yeah, I mean, so many of these alternative school systems, and what you see is, I mean, I know that some people talk about this quadrivium and and the different methods, what I've looked at, what I call it is like when I studied some of the ancient texts, when they're talking about their education, like especially this guy Apuleius, who I really admire some of his work because he's quite an intellectual breadth. What you get is that they're looking at all different kinds of skills, especially rhetoric and understanding language, very important. Understanding another language, in the case of the Latins, understanding Greek very well to fluent. So some of them would go to Cicero, for instance. He went to Athens and studied in Athens. Many other famous sort of Romans from the time of Christ or before Christ, they would go to Athens. They would learn Greek, but also they would learn geometry and mathematics and music. And also there was this idea that you can find of learning of traveling and learning of other cultures. Like it was important to travel and go to different places so that you can understand how also those relations, how to mediate different relations to different cultures. So the understanding of different cities, for instance, for them was also a kind of knowledge that you could study the customs of other peoples, even back then. So what you have at the end is a much more critical tradition where the student is enabled with the tools that they would need to go forward and to argue against anybody in any field. Not to be necessarily a full-on specialist, because I don't think they thought that was good at all. Even the Persian way of teaching, it included chess and archery and horse riding and rhetoric and mathematics and Zoroastrianism and astrology and so on. There was never a system with this grading people and separating people in different classes. This is why I have such a problem. Of course, that's why the IQ is a ruse and is a lie. Of course, you can give people different tasks and you can kind of score them to how they do, and then you can call something or other. But we know from the history of it that it is an attempt to cast a number on the kind of medium for children, actually, which is much more damaging, right, and tell some children they're stupid, while some other children they're advantage, and then they get separated in the kind of school system. So, and they get branded with this number, which makes no sense because people are always growing and changing. And then it is just this kind of reductive mathematical, way of thinking that really is not scientific. Branding separating people into classes so that they can be opposites. It's really part of the divide and conquer game. What's going on there? So in no time in the past, you had this kind of grading people and putting them in little mathematical boxes and statistics, because obviously that's not good for them. It doesn't make any sense. Even how biology is separated from everything, how maybe as a child you go and you play a little bit in the garden and you see some plants grow, you get a little bit of that, and then that gets cut off. People don't even know how to cook. They don't even know how to choose product. They don't know how to garden and so on. So, and the stars are also driven away really far. So everything's very far. Everything's in the hands of those that supposedly study it, supposedly know the dogma. So, but we're turning this around, and I guess that's one of the things that Ido was just talking about. This whole idea we need to reform, and some people, Mark Knight including, we can ask him about this. Globus is that he is thinking about different ways of education, different methods of education that are more intuitive and more, hands-on, and going with the world and going in the world and finding things out, instead of like going into books and just being told what to do and repeating and so on. People have, a lot of people all around the world have figured that out, that this school system is a total joke.
No, it's more danger than the joke, man. It's
dangerous as well.
Insane system, yeah. If only was a joke, well, you just laugh and
go away. But you're forced into it, right? If you don't
this
take
is not
your
a joke,
kids,
man.
I think isn't in the States you're forced, right? You're forced to do it as well.
Yeah, that was the thing I
Guys,
did.
I need.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just.
I just say I need to go away because I'm gonna have some. I need to go away, yes, okay. Because I'm going to have some friends that came to get a dinner and say and wish me a nice flight to Dallas, because for me start on Monday very early in the morning.
Holy shit. Good.
Yeah.
Have a nice trip, Ido, if I don't talk to you.
And everybody to
enjoy.
follow Iru. He's got his 2 channels. Obviously, both of them are listed in the description. And then his Patreon is patreon.com/NurParaTodos. Please donate to Iru. Iru, anything else you want to say to anybody before we go? Or before you go?
No, thank you for the invitation. As always, I really enjoy this format. It's really freedom. As the rest of Globebuster show, it's also a little freedom, at least for me, because I take the the opportunity to screen share and maybe go to other way. Right. But no, it's really nice to because we used to have those moments on the week that we make some live shows, and then for work situations, things like that, we never did again. And this kind of format is really nice to be again and share information in your channel and share with your people. So thank you for the invitation as always, and we're gonna see again on Sunday, and that will be my last show from Argentina. The next one is gonna be direct in Dallas, guys.
Sweet. Can't wait to see you there. Can't wait to see you Sunday. So thank you very much for joining us. You're always welcome.
Thank you. Goodbye, Bob. Goodbye, Rodrigo, and goodbye, everyone in the chat.
Ciao, ciao, Iru.
Okay,
bye.
Have a great flight.
Later,
see ya.
Thank you, man. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome.
Iru is awesome.
Yes, he is.
Yes, indeed.
How do I get to pay from inside Patreon? You said I can also pledge for Iru from the inside.
No, that's what I'm saying, is that they'll do that for you. That's okay. So if you just go to patreon.com/NurParaTodos and then pick one of his tiers, right? And then if you put in, say, $5, you won't notice that, because it will be at the end of the month when they pay you out for what your donations are, they'll just subtract $5 from it. Is that what you mean?
Right. So I don't have to even do anything. If I want to support different people on Patreon, I can just go select here, and it's going to come out of whatever I'm getting.
Well, that's what I was saying at the beginning, is that it used to work that way very easily for me, because my payment method was PayPal, and I would never see anything actually come out of my PayPal. It would be, when I got paid out, it would just be less the amount that I donated. But now I don't have a PayPal anymore, so I was having trouble with it today. But if you have PayPal, it should be pretty easy. The only thing I could think of is there is a few people who have a different setup than mine, where like if you tried to donate to Iru today, it would say we're going to charge you immediately today, and then it will come out every 15th of the month or whatever. If his is one of those, then it will come out of your PayPal today.
Yeah, I don't use PayPal. I think I'm doing. I use Payoneer.
For payouts, see, I don't know how you support someone else. Then I don't. That's what I was saying, is that it was hard for me today because I used to use PayPal, but I no longer have PayPal. So that's what I was saying, is it might be a little bit difficult. You could just try it and see if it comes out of your Payoneer, or if it tells you that it won't work. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, but well, I'll try. I'll figure it out. Okay. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And by the way, I just got a note from my PhD electrical engineering friend that says they call the ether today quantum vacuum energy or dark energy.
Quantum vacuum, dark energy.
Quantum vacuum energy or dark energy. And that is direct from academia, folks, because believe me, he does work at a university.
So. Yeah, it is, again, what we were talking about before, that they have different codes for different things. So they basically transform the ether into something else, and then they keep it hidden somewhere because they don't want it to have any other consequence. Now they created this whole other theory, the whole dark matter BS, right? Which is trying to account for what gravity is not doing. Just like the whole thing, just go electromagnetic. We know. But they're not going to do it. They're just going to keep going. This is kind of particle physics BS.
Yeah, they have to go
CERN,
down that path.
whatever.
Yeah, they have to. All right, well, it's already been 3.5 hours, so we should start winding up. We'll just keep it kind of short. I know we already talked about everybody else. But, Bob, do you want to just tell people anything new coming up, or is it just conference and 24/7 Globebusters channel?
Yeah, pretty much it. I got the conference coming up. I will be doing my presentation at the conference on angular size and inverse square law, showing the impossibility of the mainstream's claim that we can see stars at these ridiculous distances because they're very, very simple rules of physics contradict that story. So that's what I'm going to be doing on that. And of course, the Globebusters 2 channel 24/7 feed, which I have been kind of spamming in the chat, it has been online and a lot more people are coming to it. It's really great. So if you want to check it out, it's in there. And that's about it for me.
Okay. And Rodrigo, any final words for everyone?
Well, yeah, this is going to be a crazy weekend. Today is Saturday. Tomorrow is the Brazilian conference. My mom's going to attend. She's going to take David's cards there. We're going to see how that goes. It should be quite exciting. Curious. They changed their strategy. They're going to try to make it very big. They're going to try to get 900 people to attend the auditorium by changing their strategy sort of last minute, saying that people can take friends and whatnot. Then there's a magazine. There's a lot going on. I'm glad I'm not traveling anywhere because I get to at least concentrate on getting some things done. Like I said, there's just so much going on. This year is quite a pivotal year for this movement, and all the things that are happening right now are gonna play a big role in the future. I mean, we've seen this turnaround. I mean, there's the wakey video. For me, these are kind of signs, in a way. You know, they're getting exposed in such a way that there's no way back. And it's driving further and further. It's like, water's going down into the, through sand or something, It's like a mud flood, flat earth mud flood, but in a different way, right?
I became from the dead.
What the hell?
Here's you.
Yeah, I rise from the dead. No, because I was preparing to leave my house and I keep listened and now everyone is say goodbye. Well, I entered to say goodbye with you guys.
All right, thank you.
After 4 hours of show, okay, 5 minutes more is the same thing.
It's the same thing. So, Iru, any final words? Any comments for anybody?
Yes, I hope see everyone in Dallas and play Synchronicity Walk and play some songs. So if anybody can bring a guitar, that will be awesome. And the rest, nothing more, man. We saw it we're going to see again on Sunday, but I just want to rise from the dead.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
All righty then. Beautiful. Thanks, Hiro.
Yeah.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
also, I just wanted to also say, for those of you who are wondering where the party is going to be next, I would suggest everybody go over to the Iron Realm Media channel and join Josh and Zach and Walt and John and good grief, Adam, all those guys on their channel. Their show's coming up next. So join us over there. Show the guys some love.
Awesome. Yep. And thank you to all my patrons, obviously, patreon.com/jeranism. And a big thank you to everyone for this is the best live stream ever. Thanks for all the super chats. Thanks to David and JQ for the, what are you going to call it, a super chat battle. That was fun. And, thanks for everyone for tuning in. Also, a thank you to people who have contacted me recently regarding turning this into a podcast, which I will be working on when I get back from Dallas. So that's the plan, is possibly getting this into, had to cough, getting this into some sort of podcast format so people can listen to it at work or whatever. But, yeah, it's probably more of a podcast because sometimes we just sit back. We don't do a lot of watching videos. There is some, but some people have voiced that they would be interested in having it in a podcast format. So we're going to be doing that. But again, let's get back from Dallas and get all that situated. But a big thank you to everyone. It was fun as always. If you want to send me something too, you can do that through my P.O. Box, Jeranism, P.O. Box 3044, Merced, California, 95344. And I really appreciate Iru being here. I really appreciate Rodrigo and Bob. I couldn't do it without all of them. So I thank them a lot for making this Friday fun and, just kind of a kickback conversation type, which I really enjoy a little bit more than, kind of structuring a live stream on my own and struggling through everything. So just a big thank you to everybody. Thank you guys for watching. Head over to Iron Realm Media to further the party, and just a big thank you to everybody. So I remind you guys to do your own research, because when you do, you'll never again believe what you've been taught. We have Glowbusters coming Sunday. We've got Raw coming Monday. And then after that, of course, we've got the Flat Earth International Conference. Please head to fe2019.com for the schedule to get your tickets, to get your live streaming going. And that is, of course, the 14th and 15th in Dallas, Texas. So we'll see you guys all there, but we've got a few more things coming up until then. Like I said, see you Sunday for Glowbusters and Monday for Raw. So till then, guys, I appreciate you so much. Till next time, this has been Jeranism. Peace.
Peace.
Ciao, ciao, everyone.